Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. I nearly said I'll be hang out there now. Too many live streams, it's all getting confusing. How is everybody? I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I hope you all managed to get a little bit of relaxation, a bit of hobby time maybe. Maybe you just put your feet up with a cup of coffee or a beer or something like that. But I hope you had a bit of time for yourselves. So let's dive in and see who we've got in the chat tonight. We've got Mr. Peter Cooman. Good evening to you, sir. Lord Maiden was in nice and early as well. ASDF, hello to you. Marcus, the super pumpkin man, always brings a smile to my face, that name, mate. Hello. James J, good evening as well. We've got Mark Wright, good evening to you. Ortega, just dropping in to see he's looking forward to the rerun. I always say this, but when you're watching this, it is the rerun, so hello, mate, how you doing? VJ says, sup, people? How you doing, fella? Good morning to you. Peter Cooman, we just say. Christian Reeves, good evening, sir. Blizzard is that Blizz guy. Everyone hide your agrax. You've been spilling washers again, mate. Mark Cox is in as well, saying looking forward to a bit of escapism tonight with the hobby chat and finding out about everyone's hobby goals. Tonight's going to be, I am determined to be a sea of tranquility, to be an air of positivity in these troublesome times, shall we say. And tonight we're going to be talking about hobby goals and why I think it's important that you set some for yourself. Now you might say, I always set goals and I never achieve them and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about all that kind of stuff. If you're setting goals and not achieving them, there's a couple of things that maybe you could adjust, shall we say. Because maybe you're setting goals that are unachievable to start with, or maybe it should never have been your goal to start with. But we'll get on to all of that soon. I've got a number. I'm all prepped. Look at this. I printed off notes tonight. I've got all my notes for the chat. I've got all my notes of all the things I want to talk about tonight. Mega organised. Where else are we up to here? We've got Phil Wilkinson. Hello, mate. He says he agrees hobby goals are a good thing. Phil, welcome, mate. Good evening. Thank you very much as well for joining the Patreon this week. I think it was this week. Thank you very much, mate. Oh, it's probably last week because it's Monday now. All the days seem to blend into each other. Like since Christmas and since the New Year break, I feel like the days of the week, even though this is Monday and it's live stream, I have to second guess where I am. It's weird. I'm kind of out of sync at the moment. Palmsy's in as well. Hello to you, mate. He said hobby goals, never keeps them. Jeff Higdon, hello to you, mate. Robert Zunk, good evening, sir. Tim Kelly says, hope you're all good and staying positive. Yeah, I would say so, mate. That's certainly from my side of things. Vijay said I should really put a weekly reminder under my calendar to top up my wet palette. Just top it up when you use it, mate. Don't worry about it. Stu McMurtry, good evening, mate. He said, good evening, good morning, all ready for bedtime story with Uncle Andy. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you tucked in? Have you got your Jimmy Jams on? Have you got your cocoa? Joachim, good evening, mate. He said his Scions of the Flame are ready for a campaign. Might get back to them later with some final touches. Now it's time to paint the catacombs doors. I quite enjoyed painting those doors. I found doors, not dots. I found it quite relaxing, really, rather than having to paint like a model and all fancy shading and stuff. It was all metallics, washes, dry brushes, contrast paints. I think they turned out pretty well. Good evening, Glenn Griffin. Saying hello to the BlackJackers. Tasty Brain Drains in as well. Hello, sir. James On, greetings to you, mate. Good result for you at the weekend, mate. Unfortunately, the Bears didn't help me out, so we have got the Packers, but I think we're in with a good chance. Ruas, good evening to you. Another person, I should say, who's just joined the Patreon as well this week. Thank you very much, sir. Good to have you in the chat. Steve Evans, good evening to you, mate. Kieran's in as well, Outside of Dice podcast. I've got this on my notes. I've got this on my notes to chat about later, but I'm going to... Actually, no, do you know what it is? I'm going to wait until we got a few more in, mate, because I want to give it the attention it deserves. But Kieran's doing something over on his channel that I think is worthy of discussing here tonight as well. So we'll bring that up. It's on my notes, mate, so I won't miss it. Jimmy G, good evening to you. Hello, Stuart Hayes as well. Scotty Longworth, how are you doing, sir? We've got Luke in as well, saying oi oi Blackjack Arenos. Nice to see you, mate. We've got the Wah Productions. Good evening to you. Matthew Wilkinson says he's making an Oak tow truck. Oak trucks never break down. They don't need a tow truck, do they? They just wish them to never break down, and that's just what happens. Tim Kelly says he's just finished 40 Soviet infantry for Conflict 47. Hobby streak intact. First hobby goal off the list. I tell you what, mate, I've been looking on Instagram and stuff at the stuff you've been doing. It looks really good as well. It's not like it's kind of like slapped on there to get it done kind of thing. You're doing a cracking job on it. Lord Maiden says it's so nice that you do the hello for Ortega every time. If he comes and says hello, I'll come and say hello to him. I mean, not everybody can watch it live. I appreciate there's time differences and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of nice he comes over and just kind of wishes everybody well. I think it's only fair to say hello to him. Clint Dawson says it's likely the last live show I'll catch as I start a new job on Wednesday. I'll still be watching the replays though. Well, Clint, you get a hello today, and you'll get a hello in the future reruns as well, mate. Carla, good evening to you. Says BlackJack Arenos. Luke says bloody hell, the notes are highlighted too. Organised, man, organised. 2021, the year of the new me. He says we're one live stream away from PowerPoint presentation. There's been times I've considered it, mate. Andy Smith says, how's it going? It's going well, mate. Ed Handley's in as well. Marco saying hello to the gang. Simon York, good evening. We've also got... Marco says, look at that beard. Do you know what it is, mate? It's a bit raggy at the minute, but I've decided I ain't trimming this. I'm not cutting it back. I'm going to just let it grow. I'm going to see where it goes. It's sticking it up a little bit. I've been trying some kind of... It was always a bit wiry, but I've been looking at a few tips to try and soften it, and it's softening up quite nicely now. It's starting to lie straight. So we're just going to go, mate. We're just going to go. Obviously, the head was shaved today, not with a razor, like just with a electric shaver thing. But yeah, the beard's going to go, man. The beard's going to go. Let's see how it goes. Where were we at there? I just missed we lost my point. There we are. Andy Smith says cider in hand. Malifaux book arrived today. Really nice. The book's fantastic quality, man. Lovely. I'm back onto the my hot black currant there, so I'll wish you all the best with that. Andy said he's building. Kath's building new Demons of Slanesh. Oh, you give her all the easy stuff to do, then, mate. Marcus is saying his first Ace of Base submission is almost done. Just touching on Ace of Base, so that is the... Oh, just stabbed myself with my pencil. That is the first kind of challenge we're doing this year as well. Ace of Base runs until the 24th of January. All you have to do is paint a model and kind of make a bit more effort on the base than you normally do. You can do a squad of 10, you can do a full army if you want, but you only need to do one to qualify. All you need to do is email a picture to me at blackjacklegacy@gmail.com before the end of the 24th of January, and everyone who enters it, it's got nothing to do with how good it is, it's got nothing to do with who's the best painter or who's done the most or who's done the most elaborate theme or anything like that. It is purely if you complete the challenge, you go into a draw and there'll be a kind of like a small prize. I've got no idea what it's going to be at the minute, but it'll be something kind of funded by me, so it'll not be too expensive. But yeah, we'll find something, and we'll give a little prize away for this challenge, I think, to kick the year off and get people interested. Luke saying, don't start talking about the playoffs, but obviously well done to all your teams. Some squeaky games this weekend, mate. Then Barry says, how about those Bears? Yeah, it didn't do me any favours, mate. I was banking on them doing me a favour. Would I have rather had not the Saints, sorry. It was the Buccaneers, wasn't it? I'm not sure actually thinking about it now. I think we'll be all right. James is saying, yeah, go Bills, rooting for the Rams. And he says, Bolt Action Banda Brothers arrived today. That's a really nice set, that, mate. I've got that set. I've painted all the Americans and the Germans from that. And the only thing I've not painted from that yet is the like the transport carrier thing. But yeah, there's some. It's a nice little set, that. Sunberlane, good evening to you. Good evening, Redwell. Peter says, hello, peeps. I was here at the start, honest. Yeah, I'm keeping a check on you, mate. We've got the Nalwak, is it? Top of the evening to you? Top of the evening to you, sir. Tim saying, cheers. Peter says, Oaks need tow trucks to nick other people's stuff. Fair enough. I get that then. Andy Smith says, Jeffrey Higdon Malifaux. He's expecting his rule book on Monday. That was what it was about. First time in a while, he's actually isn't. Get that. I'll repeat that in a second. David Moffat, good evening to you, sir. The Nalwak, is it Nalwak or Nal? I think I'm pronouncing that right. It says, first time in a while I'm actually able to listen to you live. Welcome. ASDF says, let it grow, let it grow. if I get proper ZZ top at the point where you can't see my neck anymore and it just kind of blends into my shirt, it's probably wasted effort after that, isn't it? We got Derek Hodgin as well. Bobby Clark saying, Scott saying, is the stream blurry for anyone else or is it just me? I think it's just you, mate. Check the stream quality at the bottom. That I think there's normally a little kind of like a cog thing. Click on that one and you can pick up like the 1080 HD one. It might just not have kind of refreshed itself properly. Flying Mammal, good evening, Ruth. How are you? John Kellogg saying it's good on his end as well. Lord Maiden says, I hope your hands get better quickly. Those pencils can be deadly buggers. It's one of those with, where you like click the end and the bits come out. It was really sharp. Everyone's saying the stream looks fine. Andy saying she's picked a new army. Now to do with him. Yeah, I believe you, mate. Tony Howell, good evening, mate. He says, must remember to email a photo in for Ace of Base. Plenty of time, mate. Still, what, 2.5 weeks, something like that? Is it as long as that? Yeah, 2 weeks. Still got time, mate. Peter says, the prize will be something basic. All right, I get my quote. When I say something basic, what I mean is it's not going to be a game or something like that. It's probably going to be, let's think. It should be something to do with kind of basing or painting. So we might send out some nice brushes or something like that. We'll do something nice. David says maybe Andy's green screen is throwing you off. Or does he have a green screen? No, I don't have a green screen, mate. You know I don't have a green screen. Look, to prove it, let me just... there you go. That's not a green screen. It's all real. It's all real stuff. Simon Edge, good evening, mate. Happy New Year to you as well. Can we still say Happy New Year? Says, hope friends and family are good. We are all well at the minute, mate. We're battening down the hatches, locked in. What else can you do? Marcus says his Warcry Bringers of Death book and his airbrush should be delivered soon, sometime between now and 9 o'clock. There you go, mate. Exciting times for you, then, eh? Scott says, I'll turn off and retry. John Estel, good evening to you. He says, evening all, meeting ran late, but just joining now, finishing off some orc boats. Naleveka. We'll try that one. Veka. Yeah, Naleveka. I'll never remember it, but yeah, I'll give it a try. Naleveka. Tissy Brindrin says, I actually be rooting for the Rams next week too. That's because I don't want the Saints to have to go and play at Lombria. I think if we can get past the Packers in there, I think we've got the right kind of team for them. We've got a solid defence. I don't think they've really come up against a good defence yet. I think we could have a chance. Nalivaka. I'll have to remember that one now. Scott said it was his video settings. Luke Roberts, good evening. It's his first stream and I'm on the feeding shift for the new twins. Wish I had a paintbrush instead of a bottle. Good evening, Luke. Welcome to your first stream. I've got twins as well. My twins are like 18 now, though. So I remember those feeding days long ago. Tissy Brindrin says, that and seeing how last time we played the Rams in the playoffs ended, a little revenge would be nice. We'll see how it goes. It's going down. Scott Latham, good evening to you, mate. David says, mine dropped randomly at 144p. Yeah, it's just... the 60 frames per second messes with my eyes a bit. It's because it's so super smooth. That's what it is. A bag of sand is a basin price. Do you know what it is, mate? It would cost me a fortune to send a bag of sand somewhere. Mark says, good evening. He was working and lost track of time. How very dare you? How very dare. I'll get you later. Procrasty Creator. Hello, mate. I like that sound of that name. Says, hey, mate, nice to see you live. Only catch you afterwards before. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you very much for making the effort to come in and join us. Let me know a bit about you. Whereabouts are you in the world and what you're up to tonight? Josh Price, hello to you, mate. Rocky Mountain Airs as well. Saying, listening while working from home in Denver, Colorado. Greetings to you, mate. David says, I'll bump it up at 60 when the dance starts. Right, before we start and we go on to the main topic tonight, as I said, we're talking about hobby goals and why I think setting hobby goals is important. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, Odd-Sided Dice Podcast. Kieran, who's in the chat tonight, he's just put a video up on his channel, and essentially what he's doing is, on their channel every month, they're going to do like a kit bash, like basically building a model from lots of other bits of different kits together, if anybody doesn't know what kit bashing is. But this has got a bit of a twist with it. What they're going to do is they are then going to sell or auction off that kit bashed model on eBay, and any funds that they make from that are going to go to the Models for Heroes charity, which is a charity basically for like ex-servicemen. I think it's like emergency workers as well with PTSD. The Models for Heroes charity basically helps sort of injured servicemen and stuff with modelling, basically, the kind of hand-eye coordination, that kind of stuff. If you go and check out his video, he's got a lot more information about it, so I don't want to kind of steal his thunder. I want you to go and watch the video. So head over to Odd-Sided Dice Podcast. They're going to be doing this every month, and the money goes to a really, really worthwhile charity. So please do support Kieran and the guys over there. I'd really love it if you could go and check that channel out, and please subscribe to the channel and make sure that you see those. Even if you can only support by watching that one video every month, what that does, it gives YouTube a little kick to say people are enjoying this, we'll share it out to more people, and it just raises the profile of that video and helps out the charity in the long run. So thank you very much, Kieran, for giving me a little bit information on that one. I also want to say that last week on the Hobby Hangout on Wednesday, we hit 10,000 subscribers, which is awesome. So that was a bit of a bit out of left field. I wasn't expecting to catch that up to probably later on this week, but we're going through a bit of an uplift at the minute of the channel. Views are absolutely flying, subscribers are flying. I think I've done about 350 subscribers since last Wednesday. So yeah, things are going really well at the minute. So thank you again to everybody that came in on Wednesday to the live stream and kind of was there to share the moment with me. If you weren't, then welcome tonight, and we'll kind of have a little mini celebration as well. I appreciate it. There's only me cares about it, but I'm happy we got there. What else we got to talk about? We've also got, so because we hit 10,000 subscribers, and I say we because I feel like it's a community thing. It's not just me. I feel like we as a community hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. The guys at Mantic got in touch with me and said, congrats on the 10,000 subscribers. We know how hard it is to kind of get there and stuff. Would you like a Kings of War mega army to give away to one of your subscribers? So I said, of course, yes. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So tomorrow night, I will be uploading a video. I don't want to do it on the live stream because then it gets confusing about where you'll need to comment and stuff, so I can collate all of the messages in one place. I'll be bringing it up. Tomorrow night, you'll get a video, and it will tell you what you need to do to enter the competition. You'll basically need to be a subscriber, and you'll need to basically comment on tomorrow night's video, and then at the end of the time frame that I give it, one of you lucky people will get the chance to win a mega army of your choice. There's obviously lots of different armies to choose from. There's the new Goblin one, which comes with the Giant and all the new Goblin sculpts. There's the Abyssal Dwarf one. They retail for £99.99, so there's almost £100 worth of army there, if you like. However, they're already discounted as well. So actually, for £100, you're getting more than £100 worth of models. And Mantic have very kindly supplied that. Basically, whoever wins, you can choose the mega army that you want from the choices, and they'll get it sent out to you. So that was really, really kind of Mantic. They've supported me kind of just like by getting in touch and giving me bits of information and letting me go down and film with them, almost like from my first ever video. So I'm hugely thankful to them, and it was really kind of them to reach out and offer that as a prize. So thank you very much, Mantic. So yes, tomorrow night, probably about 6:30, we'll have the competition announcement. So I also had a donation there as well from ASDF. Says hooray for 10k. Thank you very much, buddy. That's really, really appreciated. Where else are we up to here? Jonathan Dawson, good evening, mate. He's listening from Notts. Nice to see you in, mate. Procrasti Creators in Sweden says, just started streaming when I couldn't fit any reviews on the new Scales 75 instant colours. Kind of started streaming by mistake. Yes, I know how that feels. I started streaming by mistake as well, mate. Andy says he's a volunteer at Models for Heroes. It's about getting people chatting. Awesome, mate. You'll know more about it than I do. I watched Kieran's video just to kind of understand more about it, but yeah, I don't know the finer details of it. Andy Smith says he's a volunteer at Models for Heroes. I didn't know that, mate. He said it's about getting people chatting. Well, as you all know, then it's very close to home for a lot of us. So yeah, it's a worthwhile cause. Scott Latham says he's an ex-Royal Engineer. I love that. Well done, Odd-Sided. Check it out. And Scott saying, nice one, Kieran, mate. Worthy cause. Tony saying worthy cause as well. David Moffat says, congrats on the 10K. Thank you very much. Scott said he's a rifles veteran suffering with PTSD. I tell you what, mate. It's sometimes it's brave just to be able to kind of, it shouldn't have to be brave, but it is brave to speak up and kind of to get help when you need it, mate. So yeah, I hope you're on the mend. If you're like, I don't even know if it's one of those things where you can be on the mend. I'm being a little bit kind of naive on that, I suppose. Tasty Brain Drain saying pretty awesome, yeah. Summerlin says, where's the 10K dance? You missed it, mate. It was on the Wednesday Hobby Hangout. That's when it happened. Marcus is glad to see that my Russian hacker friends are increasing the number of subscribers. It's great, and not because of your amazing content. Yes, mate. Do you know what it is? If you keep paying them the money, mate, I'll keep accepting the subscribers. Ed Handley says, congrats on the 10K as well. Kieran saying he's working on the first Kid Bash during a chat. Nice one, mate. Vijay saying, ooh, Mega Army. Yes. What's even better as well, mate, is it's not like I've got a prize and that's what you get. Whoever wins gets to choose the army they want. So I think there's probably about 15 different choices, 16 different choices of armies. Some lovely ranges there. There'll be one whoever wins, there'll be a one that they'd like. Luke's in there, those buggers at Mantic were a good lot. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't going to kind of reach out and just kind of like, so who's going to help me out here kind of thing. It didn't really even occur to me to do anything, and it was Rob at Mantic who basically dropped me a message and said, congratulations, and, you know, you can say no if you want, but we'd like to kind of give you something to as a giveaway to say congratulations. So I thought it was really kind of them. It's not coming to me, it's coming to one of you lot. Andy says, fantastic to get 10,000 subs for a gaming channel that mostly ignores gaming. You are not wrong, my friend. You're not wrong. Stuart says, I wouldn't say no to it either. Yeah. And Scott saying, that's why I love Mantic. Yes. Luke as well there. He says, to the Mr. Motivator from the North. Thank you very much, mate, for that donation. Hugely appreciated. Everyone's saying, well done, Mantic, and well deserved to me. Thank you. It's well done, everybody that keeps coming back every week, everybody that comments, everybody that likes the videos, all that kind of stuff. That's what kind of gives YouTube the nudge to shove it out to a few more people here and there, and before you know it, we're climbing. So Christian's sharing the link there for the Facebook group as well. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, please come and hang out. Peter says, Mantic are a small version of what GW want to be. And Lord Maiden says, Andy, you deserve it. Right, I am going to... we're going to crack on with the main topic tonight then. So, I've got my notes prepped so I can make sure I'm whoops, wrong button. That's the one. You can tell this is live. So... so we're going to have a bit of a chat tonight, aren't we? So if everybody's comfortable, if you've got your cocoa, you've got your Jimmy Jams on. Tonight, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should set hobby goals. And as I said in the kind of the pre-ramble on this live stream, we all kind of think that we set ourselves goals. And then a lot of us feel like we never achieve them. And there's a few reasons why you probably don't achieve them. One is you've maybe not set a realistic goal. And the other one is maybe it was never really your goal in the first place. Maybe you thought it was a good idea, but in hindsight, you were never going to do it because you weren't that really enthused about it. So let me give you those 5 reasons, and then we'll wrap it up at the end. So the first one is goals help you stay motivated. So think how sort of hard people kind of furiously kind of hobby and try to get that army painted when they're painting to a deadline. It might be you've got a competition coming up, like a painting competition. You might be going to a special event, back when events were a thing, or a tournament maybe. If you've got a goal, if you have something you need to achieve, that gives you motivation to go and achieve it. So having that goal as the defined end point, if you like, it gives you a reason to why you hobby it. It gives you a purpose as to why am I doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it for this because that's my goal and that's what I'm trying to achieve. The second one is goals give you focus. So without goals, we tend to just drift from one kind of half-finished project into the next half-finished project, and then we leave that one and we pick something else up. And the reason we do that is we're never really fully invested in that kind of project to start with. We just picked it up because we fancied it at the time. Now, there's nothing wrong with just painting random minis. You can pick up this one mini and paint that and finish it, and then put it down and pick up this other random mini and paint that and finish it. But then painting random minis is your goal. It's a goal in itself. If you're achieving it and it's what you want to do, then that's the goal. But just kind of dropping off between kind of half-finished projects here and there and never really achieving anything, it's because you've got a bit of a lack of focus, really. And that's where setting goals can really, really kind of focus in on what you want to achieve. The third one is goals help you achieve more things. So if you set yourself up with a goal and then you achieve that goal, you get that like a real positive kind of rush of energy about achieving something, about setting out to do something and achieving it. And what does that do? That basically gives you another rush of motivation to go and achieve another goal, to go and achieve something else. So actually, without really kind of setting an end point, without setting something that you want to do, how do you know you finished it, basically? And that's why it's setting that goal can basically, it gives you a sense of achievement and it helps you to achieve more. The fourth one, and this one, I'm guilty of this one as well. Goals can help you I'll repeat that. Goals can help you beat procrastination. So procrastination is something that we all suffer from. However, it's basically just wasting time, kind of dilly-dallying, putting things off. Like, I'm not really sure. I'll think about it tomorrow. I'll do it later, kind of thing. Now, if you have a goal from the offset, if you know what you're trying to achieve when you start a project, then basically procrastination goes out of the window. You don't need that. And actually, it can help with a lot of anxiety as well. People who get anxiety or kind of mental paralysis when it comes to a project, you can kind of overthink things. And by setting that goal from the start, really thinking about what is it I am actually trying to achieve here, you take that time and it basically takes away a lot of that hobby stress because you know what the end point is. You've kind of made your plan, you know where you're going, and all of that procrastination and the kind of the stress and the anxiety of the project can all be just kind of pushed to one side. The fifth thing is that goals help determine what you really want. So setting hobby goals really forces you to think about what it is you want to do. Now, we all get distracted by all the new shiny things when they come out, and Games Workshop's released this and Mantic's released this, and we've got this new stuff, this new board game coming out, but the minis are really nice, and there's these new 3D printer files coming out that I really like the look of, that kind of stuff. And sometimes we need those welcome distractions just to keep things fresh, to mix things up, to give us a little bit of a boost sometimes. But how many times have we bought a box of minis, or we've bought a starter set or something, thinking, oh yeah, I really want that. And then you get it, and it sits on a shelf, and you don't do anything with it. And if you think, oh, that's not me, I don't do that. Think about how many unpainted minis you've got now. When you bought them, you really, really wanted them, and yet now they're just sitting there, not doing anything, kind of thing. So setting a goal makes you think really hard about the project that you're considering starting. If you sit there and you think about it, and it doesn't really make you excited to want to complete it, then it's probably not the goal that you should set in the first place. Like, no matter how long it takes, if you sit down, you go, I really want to paint an army for this particular game, and then if you sit down, you think, oh well, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and and before you've even kind of picked out a colour scheme, you're already thinking, oh, I can't be bothered. Then it's not really the goal for you. It's not the goal that you should have set for yourself. If you get excited about a project and you're already picking out colour schemes and you're planning which models you want, and you're thinking about basing, and you're looking forward to maybe getting a game of it in the future, that's probably the right goal for you. And that's what it comes back to when I was saying about sort of if you're not achieving your goals, you've potentially set yourself an unachievable goal. Like, for example, I want to paint an army in a week. And then you think, well, I'm never going to do that, so I'll just not bother. So you haven't really set it as an achievable goal. Or maybe it just wasn't that exciting to start with. You just kind of got caught up in the moment to start with. Now, setting goals shouldn't be overly ambitious. We shouldn't be thinking like kind of, oh, I'm going to paint 500 models this year kind of thing. Try and narrow it down. Do it in smaller chunks. It shouldn't be stressful. It's your hobby. You shouldn't be kind of worrying about it. It shouldn't be a case of, you shouldn't be feeling negative about not achieving it. Like in my time, I've run large projects in the past and stuff in my old jobs, in my old world kind of thing. And we often use something which was called SMART goal setting. And SMART basically stands for, the S is for specific, the M is for measured, the A is for achievable, the R is for realistic, and the T is for time. And these are the things that we consider when we're setting goals. So if you set yourself a goal, don't set yourself up to fail like from the start. So it's your hobby, it's meant to be fun, but if you're not really quite specific about it, you're probably going to come unstuck quite early on. So if you don't know exactly what it is you're trying to achieve, if you don't know exactly what you want to do, how can you measure when you're at the end point? How do you know you've achieved it? If you can't if you can't set yourself up with something that's achievable, if you say I want to paint, like as I said before, I want to paint an army in a week, but I've got the kids at home because we're homeschooling at the minute, and I haven't got time, and the paints probably won't come till the week after. You're setting yourself up to fail before you've started. So think realistic when you're making goals, and don't set them so like far out into the future that actually you're probably going to kind of lose a little bit on the track on the way to them really. Now a goal can be, I'm going to finish this 10 model unit to a basic painting standard by the end of the month. It might be, I'm going to teach myself to play this game so that when I can get with my friends in 3 months' time, we can all play it together. It doesn't have to be really it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to paint 10 armies this year. I'm going to paint an army a month. It doesn't have to be sort of overwhelming. It's just a case of setting yourself a small goal and set the bar low. Set yourself something easy, because the feeling you get from achieving that goal is so motivating that it's far better than like setting yourself up to fail from the start. Set yourself, see, I'm going to paint this hero model before I paint any more of my troops. I'm not going to paint any troops for my army until I've completely finished that hero model. Just setting yourself little goals like that. So, it's just a case of really drilling down and fully understanding what it is that you're trying to do. Give yourself a bit of a reality check about like, is this really my goal? Do I really want to do this, or do I just fancy doing it right at the moment? And setting a goal is really, it's just a long-term vision which creates short-term focus. So what you're doing is it forces you to have a plan. If you say, for example, I want to paint an army for Kings of War, well, you've been talking about that. I want to paint an army for Kings of War, and I'm going to do 250 points every month. So already you're starting to kind of have a plan. You're breaking it down, right? I'm going to do 250 points a month. It's going to take me 8 months to get to 2,000 points. And then you think, right, what am I going to do for the first month? So then you're filtering it down even further, and you keep breaking it down, and you break it down into more manageable chunks. You don't think about the scale of the whole sort of goal. You just break it down into small bits, because essentially, like it's a bit kind of a bit geeky really, but a goal without a plan is just a dream. Like, I want to paint a Warhammer 40,000 army. All right, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'm not making any plans to do it. I'm not buying any models for it. I'm not setting out how I'm going to do it. But it's just a dream. If you don't set a plan for that goal, it's going to just kind of drift away and do nothing with it. And essentially, really, like a goal. I think it was Tony Robbins, who's a bit of like a kind of like a motivational guru, basically said, setting a goal is the first step on making the invisible visible. And that's what we're trying to do. We've got these things that we would love to do. We set that goal and then we break it down into manageable bits. So don't beat yourself up about it. It's your hobby. It's meant to be fun. But just remember, setting a goal gives you some focus on what you're doing. In times like this where things are really tough at the minute, it's hard to kind of focus on things. It's hard to think long term. And actually having something in your hobby that feels quite stable and something motivational to kind of work towards can actually help you from a mental health point of view as well. So folks, that's it. I'm getting red hot here, by the way. I must have left the heating on from today. Excuse me, I'm starting to get burning. Right, let's dive back in and see what we've been chatting about here. There we were. Marcus is saying, my God, I think my allergies are trying to kill me today. I hope you're all right, mate. Scott's saying, the community helps me a great deal, and also the wild camping. I like the idea of wild camping, mate. I'll be honest. I used to do a lot of like things with scouts and stuff when I was younger. So I used to kind of go sort of up the sides of sort of mountains in Scotland and stuff, and camping on the side of mountains and sitting in them. I forget what they're called now. Those kind of stone buildings where you can just kind of sleep in the middle of nowhere. Like they're not in the middle of nowhere, they're on the side of a hill or side of a mountain or something. Roots saying, nice, well done for the 10k. Thank you very much. Vigis, I've already got a good start on a Ratkin and Gobbo armies thanks to War in the Holes. So probably pick Abyssal Dwarves. Some nice models in that set, mate. Tony saying, watching dog soldiers before wild camping is not advised. Luke says, Rob's a really nice guy. I enjoy my interactions with him at work. He's always been really good to me, mate. Like he's kind of if there's ever anything he can do to help, he always will. It's Rob who set up all of the discount codes and stuff like that for everyone when we're doing the Kings of War army challenge and stuff like that. Yeah, really nice. Peter says, you do the work and give us the credit. That's why we come back. There you go, mate. Let me scroll down here. Peter says, I consistently set myself very low goals and then fail to live up to them. Scott says, cocktail, Prosecco and whiskey. Yeah, it was a bit of a rough night, mate, was that Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah, and it was single malt whiskey as well. So my window to watch life ended, unfortunately. I was hoping to take part in the discussion. Have fun, everyone. I will listen tomorrow. Congrats on the 10k, Andy. Thank you very much, my friend, and thanks for coming in. Scott says, I've just received 60 Victrix, 28mm Saxons today to build those, and he's 60 Vikings Infinite. I tell you what, mate, you've got your hands full, haven't you? Procrastinator says it's spelled procrastination. Yeah, I did think that way when I was talking about this. Tony says, I found that with one of my goals, paint a nice mini for Mike G, I end up overachieving and doing some mental freehand. This is kind of what I mean, mate, about like, if we're setting hobby goals, I think when you come to kind of the 1st of January and the start of a new year, you've got all these New Year's resolutions and people are trying to set these kind of grandiose goals. I'm going to paint 20 models a week. I'm going to paint every single day. I'm going to paint 3 armies this year, kind of thing. It's easy to get kind of caught up in that early part of the year where you're full of kind of self-confidence, you're full of motivation, and then as soon as you kind of fall off the wagon, like if you say I'm going to paint every single day for the rest of this year, and then on the 3rd day you're really ill or your little one's ill and you don't get a chance, like instantly you've failed your goal, kind of thing. Maybe what you'll say is, I'm going to paint every day this week, or I'm going to paint at least 5 times this week. And then the next week you say, right, I did that, I'm going to paint another 5 times this week. And you keep setting yourself up on smaller goals, with the idea being that you're trying to kind of reach a bigger end, if you like. But if you can't achieve it because it's out of your control, then like basically like you're setting yourself up to fail. If, for example, you said I'm going to paint every single day this year, and then you book a holiday, like what you're going to do? That's not through your own fault. You've failed what you were trying to achieve. So like setting yourself a goal you know you can achieve, and then as Tony's saying there, exceeding it, actually gives you it gives you a bit of like a warm fuzzy feeling. It gives you a sense of motivation. You give yourself that kind of mental pat on the back, you know, like I said I was going to do that and I did it. Christian said, I feel called out by that 3D print in the comments. Do you know what it is, mate? You shouldn't feel called out by that, mate. It's more, I think it's more me keep hovering over that buy button for 3D printers and then going, no, I don't need it yet. I don't need it yet. Tony said he did that in 3 days. Awesome work, mate. Peter says if you don't buy shiny stuff to then not use for 10 years before you paint them, are you really a war gamer? No, I get that, and I do it myself, mate. I have piles of stuff, but then I've never really kind of set myself a goal when it comes to my hobby, and it's something I've been kind of thinking about these last few days, because I think it's hard to look back on what you've achieved. I think we talked about this last week about motivation to keep painting and stuff. And I think things like Instagram are great for, if you've done something, take a picture. It's almost like a nice little catalogue to keep it in. I think that's a great idea. But you also shouldn't set yourself up to kind of fail. So you stay motivated by kind of staying on the path. So if you give yourself if you say you want to paint an army this year, be realistic. Like, can you paint it in a month? Can you afford to get everything in time? Like, there's no point saying I'm going to paint it in a month and then saying, oh, but I'm going to have to wait 3 months to save up to buy all the bits for it. Like, be realistic. Like, understand the timescales. Don't beat yourself up over something. Don't get to a point where it starts to feel like work because you're forcing yourself to do stuff. Having goals is really, really healthy, and working towards them and setting yourself a bit of a plan to achieve it is really motivating. But setting yourself up to fail does exactly the opposite. Lord Maiden says, I know what you mean. I do set mini goals or tasks. At the minute, my goal is to paint and base the whole of Titania's keyword crew that I have. The overall goal is to do some hobby every day. Yeah, and I think it's nice to have a goal to do some hobby every day, but things get in the way. So there's days where I think I'm going to do a bit like when the weekend comes, I'm technically not working, although I always end up doing something. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of hobby today. And before you know it, the little one wants to kind of play in the garden, or my wife says, "Do you mind like will you keep an eye on him while I go and sort of go for a run or something?" And those little clips of 30 minutes here and there that you thought you had get swallowed up by other stuff. And it's not like you don't begrudge it. Like, it's all stuff that you love doing, like spending time with my family. Why would I not want to spend time with the family? But you can sometimes set yourself up to fail if you're kind of too ambitious with it. The other side of it is, if you're going to do it, set yourself a diary, plan ahead, share it with your family. Say, by the way, 4:00 today, I'm gonna have an hour. I'm gonna do a bit of painting. So, do you mind kind of working around me, kind of thing? Set your own diary if you like. Peter says, my current hobby goal is to finish painting my Necron army up to 1,000 points. Awesome, mate. Awesome. Have you started it? Have you planned it out? Which order you're going to paint it in? Are you going to kind of paint some of the warriors and then treat yourself with some of the bigger stuff? Have you got a time frame? Because sometimes even just leaving the time frame open-ended can be demotivating, because you think, oh, this is just never going to get done. Where actually sometimes if you give yourself a little bit of a personal deadline, there's nothing wrong with moving that. But sometimes just giving yourself a bit of a personal deadline can really help as well. Lord Maiden saying that and the pledge, of course, yes. Luke says, I hate all those business speak things, but they are undeniably useful. I think it was more of a case of coming from an area manager I thought was a bit of a dick. I'll be honest, mate, when I've sat through kind of training courses and all that kind of, I've given training courses like that kind of stuff as well, and I think it's because it's at work. But when you actually sit and thinking about it from a hobby perspective, I think you like things like time management and stuff, and setting goals and and being task orientated and stuff. They are all a bit they're all a bit fluffy, and some consultants making a fortune out of telling you how to do it kind of thing when it comes to work. But they do work. They're proven. Like I've managed lots of different projects over my years in kind of my working life, and the ones where everybody is on the same page, the ones where everybody knows what they're doing, and there's a really kind of specific scope for what the project is. You know what the time frame is. You know what the end goal is. You know what the end date is. Those are the ones that work. And why should it be any different when you're trying to achieve your own little personal goals? Peter says, I'll do that. I will paint 500 models this year. Work's a treat. I've always made it. 4 consecutive years of success now. What happens the year you don't, mate? what's the motivation to set yourself a year-long goal? Because for me, I find that personally, like in my own personal hobby, I find that is just, it's too big to think about. Like for me, painting, I've never painted 500 models in a year. I don't even know if I've painted 100 models in a year. I don't really keep a record of it. And I think the worry is if you set yourself up with those kind of, like for me, I don't paint purely just to achieve numbers of stuff. There needs to be a reason for it. So whilst that might be motivating for you, that wouldn't be motivating for me personally. I'd rather paint one model in a year, but it be absolutely to the best of my ability, and I've really taken my time with it, and I've done something I could never do before, kind of thing, as opposed to I'm just painting for sheer volume of numbers. Because for me personally, that would start to feel like a bit of a production line, and I was just banging them out just to get them done, kind of thing. John says, if winning a mega army would cause painful procrastination to anyone, I'm happy to take that burden. I bet you are, mate. Nick saying, great topic, man. Nice to see you in, Nick. I hope you're well, mate. Eddie May says, small bite-sized chunks is a good way to go at it. I think that's the whole point, mate. So you can set a goal. Like if that goal, like we're talking about, I want to paint a 2,000 point Warhammer 40,000 army. That might be the goal, but you have to break it down into manageable tasks. So don't think I need to paint 2,000 points. Think I need to paint a unit of Necron warriors, for example. And then when I've done that, I'll decide what I'm going to paint next. And don't go out there and buy 2,000 points and have it all piled up in grey plastic on your desk, going, right, there's all my 2,000 points. Now I've just got to do it. Just do it in manageable chunks. Do it a box at a time. Do it a model at a time. And just chunk away at it and just do a bit. You might find in 6 months' time you've changed your mind. You don't want to do it anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like being able to kind of pivot and do something different is all part of project management. You might get to a point where you think, actually, the goal isn't the goal anymore now. I don't even play that game, or there's new rules come out and now I don't like the game. But if you've kind of just gone all in on day one, not only is it overwhelming, but you've basically you haven't given yourself a way out of it. Basically, you're all in at that point and you're committed to it, and you might not always be committed to it. So, Spiderlord says, I think goals are fine as long as you don't beat yourself up too much if you don't meet them. Otherwise, you add pressure and stress. Pressure and stress. That's the whole point, mate. I don't think we should be, in your hobby, we shouldn't be setting sort of goals that are unachievable. And I think that's what a lot of us do when we set goals that we don't achieve. I think it's because we deep down, I think when we set those goals, we probably knew we were never going to achieve them anyway, because we have aspirations of, I really want this big army, or I'm gonna enter this year. I'm going to enter Golden Demon, and I'm going to get a finalist pin or something like that. If it's the first time you've entered, it's probably unlikely, unless you've kind of miraculously been hit on the head and suddenly discovered painting ability and stuff. I think sometimes we set ourselves up to fail, and that's what creates stress and worry and anxiety. But if you set yourself up with a bit of a kind of like a low ball, a bit of an easy ball, one that you can like knock out the park, that sets up more. That gets you motivated, and I think that's the point. This is what I was talking about being specific with your projects, being specific with your goals. Don't set yourself up to fail at the start, and I think a lot of us do that. I'm guilty of it in my own hobbies. We announce these big plans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to paint this entire army, and I'm going to do it in a week. And then you go like 6 days in, and you think, God, I haven't even bought the paint yet. Like I think that's what can happen. Ruas just said something, and then I jumped off my screen. Where was it at? There it was. Only goal I have in 2021 is to learn how to play Warcry. No painting goals this year. Nice one, mate. You will pick that up, no problem at all, mate. It's a great game. Rocky Mountain Air, good evening. It said it's not just the size of the chunk that matters, it's the standard of painting. Painting minis to tabletop standard is not the same as display standard. I've burned out armies on forgetting that. Good evening, by the way. Thank you very much for coming in. I don't even think it's necessarily about the standard of painting per se. I think it's more about your expectations when you start. And this is my point about being achievable and about being realistic. if you can paint to a really high standard and you want to paint an entire army to a really high standard because that's what you enjoy doing, there's nothing wrong with that. But then give yourself time to do it. Like, you're never going to do it in a week, for example. You're probably not going to do it in a month. But if you have a painting standard, like I have a painting standard I'm quite happy with, which is pretty much base coats and washes. Maybe there's a bit of highlights here and there on the special stuff. Like, I'm happy with that. I always paint a test model first before I go into it, and I see roughly how long it's going to take me, and then I can be realistic about, actually, is this something that I can paint in a month, or is this something that's probably going to take me 6 months, and let's be realistic about it, kind of thing. So I think it's about your own personal painting standard. I spent a long time, I think, kind of with what you're explaining there, about always feeling like I had to paint to the best of my ability. And once I got that clear in my head, actually, that I don't have to paint to the best of my ability, I just have to paint to the level that I'm happy with. And those are two very, very different things. I can paint pretty decent if I really kind of sit down and take my time and like agonize over it. But it takes me months to paint one model. I'm never going to achieve, even like little war bands and stuff like that, I'm never going to achieve kind of really nice looking war bands to that level in any realistic kind of time frames. So I've learned to kind of sort of manage my enthusiasm, if you like. Spiderlord says, my very loose goal is to paint my dog Elder this year, hopefully with an airbrush to speed things up. Why not even start it easier? Set your first goal to paint a unit, paint one of the big characters or something like that. Just do it in chunks, break it down. Don't think of it as a massive big goal of painting everything. Like, just get started on one or two things. Glenn says, breaking it down could also be applied to individual models. You could, for example, just paint the boots on a model one day and paint the skin if if you're really procrastinating. To be honest, mate, sometimes if you've got like 30 minutes or an hour and you think that's all I've got today, I'm gonna paint until I get the boots finished on these 10 models. That's me done, right? I'm putting the brush down. I've got as much done today as I wanted to get done. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. This is what I mean, really. So I think when we talk about goals, especially around like kind of New Year's, and we talk about resolutions and stuff, I think we always think they're this huge kind of like life-changing kind of thing, and they're not. They're basically just little things that you want to get done. But by sometimes just by writing them down, it focuses the mind. Sometimes just taking the time to write them down in a little notebook, it gives you the time to look at it and think, actually, is that really what I want to do? Am I focusing on the right stuff here? Because hobby time's precious. We don't all have like kind of like 8 hours a day to sit in hobbies. Some people do. Some people don't. Some people are lucky if they get like an hour a week. Some people are lucky if they get an hour a month. So if you've got a goal, if you can really focus on what you're trying to achieve, it just takes out a lot of that kind of procrastination and stuff. Stu says they call it bothy. That's the word I couldn't think of it, mate. Thank you very much. Tony says planning is super important. If you have a plan, a clear vision and drive, that really helps you to keep track of where you are and what to do next. I think you're 100% right, mate. I think, especially if you're prone to overthinking things, if you're prone to kind of agonizing and second guessing what you're doing, setting a plan out, if you're going to paint an army or you're going to paint 10 models, do your test model. Make sure that you iron out all the kinks and stuff, all the things that you're going to do. What order you're going to do your paints. Write yourself down a little paint recipe. What's your order of attack? That can take so much pain out of it, and actually it just becomes a very relaxing, pleasurable experience. Ed says, my goal this year is to paint at least as many minis as I buy each month. Simple, and it keeps the wife happy if I manage it. Yeah, I think we're all guilty of that, mate. We tend to buy more than we paint. And I think that also comes back to having grand expectations of what we can achieve when probably we can't. And sometimes just kind of rationalising that thought process of like, hang on, just before I buy this new box of stuff, have I got the time to do anything with it? How much do I really want it? Like, is this now my goal? Is this now what I'm kind of focusing my time on? Because if I'm working on this, I'm not working on any of that other stuff. That was my goal, kind of thing. And I think sometimes it just forces you. Excuse me. It just forces you to kind of narrow it down and really pinpoint what's important to you. Tim saying, yeah, very true. I had to teach myself to set expectations for each paint project. 2-foot standard is good enough. Yeah, exactly. It's like when I went back to before with my old video about tabletop standard doesn't exist. It's exactly that. You always paint to the standard that you're happy with. And maybe painting isn't what you want to do. Maybe you're just happy to build models. That's fine as well. As long as your hobby is what you're getting enjoyment out of, what the hell difference does it make the rest of the stuff? Scott saying they call bothies. I couldn't remember the name here, thank you. Tim says just chip away 20-30 minutes a day. I definitely think sort of having like a little area or having like a tray of pots of paint and stuff like that where you can maybe lift it down and sit and do some painting and then put it away again, or if you're lucky enough to have a dedicated area, it can really help with that type stuff. Like quite often, like when I put my little one to bed in the night time, he's in the next room to me, just behind the other side of this wall, and he goes to bed roughly about 7:30 or something like that. But he tends to like to kind of get up and like, oh, I need to go to the toilet, and oh, I forgot to tell you this, or oh, my quilt fell off, can you just come and tuck me back in, kind of thing. So I'm kind of up and down, and what I used to do was I used to put him to bed and go downstairs, and then I would hear him, and I'd be back up the stairs, and then I'd go back down, and then I'd hear him, and he got a bit like kind of frustrating with it, like, oh, like I'm up and down the stairs. Now what I do is I have some stuff on my desk ready for me just to kind of pick up a paintbrush and do a little bit of stuff, and if I hear him, just put the paintbrush down, nip out, come on son, back to bed, and I probably spend 15-20 minutes just sitting painting while I'm kind of settling him down, and then once he's settled, I clean my brushes out, and I go downstairs and I have wife with my dinner. I have wife with my dinner. I have dinner with my wife, and that's kind of I managed to get a little bit done each day that way. So sometimes being able to just get access to your painting stuff really easily and grabbing those 5 or 10 minutes here and there. Like sometimes, if you put the dinner in the oven kind of thing and it's going to be 20 minutes, so right, I'm going to sit and, as you mentioned before, I'm going to sit and paint the boots on these few models while dinner's cooking kind of thing. Spiderlord says, I'm on the Iron Brew and Amaretto tonight. Don't judge me, it's proper tasty. I've never tried that, mate, but it sounds like it's something I would like. Eddie says his current goal is to paint 25 power level 40k to a tabletop ready standard so I can roll some dice with my mate. I think that's a great target, mate. You're not kind of like overwhelming yourself by saying, I'm going to paint 2,000 points. You might find you play that 25 power and you're not that keen on the army. So sometimes having those bite-sized, manageable ones, you've got a reason to do it. You want to play a game with your mate. Those are the kind of things that are really motivating. And if you can join a bit of a painting challenge or a bit of a painting group with somebody else, you kind of motivate each other to keep you on track as well. Derek says, I set hobby goals for myself in a blog every January, then review them the next January. Almost every year something comes along in April and I go off with something new and shiny. Yeah, that's absolutely... I think we can all do that. Like even in my sort of professional life, you'll set yourself goals where you'd like for me, I'll set myself goals on what I'd like to take this. I mean, for all it sounds really kind of wanky and stuff, this is my business. This is what I do for a day job. I have to have some kind of goals. I have to have plans. I have to know whether I'm on track to achieve what I'm setting out to do. And you have to do that. But sometimes things come along. Like if for example, and I know this is not going to happen, but let's say next month COVID disappears, I'll have to change my plans because the things that I can't do now, I will be able to do. So then I'll change what my plans are and I'll do something else. At the minute, I know I can't get anybody else to come and help me out with any filming or anything like that or playing games and stuff. So I have to make my plans around what I know is on the horizon kind of thing. And it's exactly the same in your hobby. Like a new game might come out that you never even thought you'd be like sort of like interested in, and you think, oh, actually that looks really cool. I want to pick them up. I'm going to put this little project on hold for now, and I'm going to go and have a look at that. There's nothing wrong with that, but as long as you know why you're doing it, that's the difference. Stu says, goals are great, but the goalposts keep moving. I've bought more starter sets than I know what to do with. My first goal is to decide what game I actually want to play. I don't think the goalposts keep moving, mate. I think you're moving the goalposts. I don't think they're doing it on their own, mate. And I think we're all guilty of this. This is my point about setting manageable goals. About the reason we set goals is actually to take a look at it and think, is this really what I want to do? And like, it just helps you kind of focus down. Like if you're sitting painting models for a game that you're not really that fussed about, and you're only painting it because you said you'd play it once kind of thing, Is it really a goal to get that finished? Is there something more important or more enjoyable you'd rather be doing? Derek says, over 428mm miniatures completed last year. I just don't even keep a track of them. Lobin says, I do see what you say. It seems like you also need to have some thinking for the unknown when setting goals. If you have a heart attack or an accident, you think you fail straight away. I think there's another quote as well, is saying that your goals should only be something that you'd regret. You'd regret not doing if you drop down dead. If you're not that bothered about them, they're probably not worthwhile goals, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, things happen. Don't get me wrong. You could get struck down with an illness or something like that. So that's why I tend not to think too abstract, if you like, too far ahead. You can have that goal. If you say, I want to paint 400 minis this year or 500 minis this year, let's say, for example, as you were talking about. But then I would break that down and say, well, how many a month is that? So this month, I'm not thinking about the 500. I'm thinking this month I need to paint, I don't know, I need to paint 50 this month. 50 is quite a lot. So how am I going to break that down? Right, well, I need to break that down roughly about sort of 15 a week or something like that. Right, this week I'm going to paint 15 models. And that's how I'd kind of like, so it's all right having that big goal at the end, but tracking it as you go and saying, right, I'm a month in, am I on track for where I want to be? No, I'm behind, I'm going to have to pick up the pace. Or, yes, I'm well ahead, right, well, that's okay, then I'm giving myself some breathing space to take a little break or something like that. So I get what you're saying, but I think I would personally break it down even smaller. I'd bring it right the way down. So my goal is to paint 15 minis this week. And that will go towards a bigger pile, but I think if I thought I'm going to paint 500 models this year, I think the pressure of that will be overwhelming, and I'd instantly feel like I was kind of miles behind. And that's what I mean about bringing it down to like almost realistic numbers. And then if you say I want to paint 15 models this week, you might say, right, tonight I'm going to sit down for 2 or 3 hours. I need to have 5 models finished, kind of thing. And that's kind of a way just to break it down to more manageable stuff. And that way, actually, if you say my goal is to paint 3 models tonight or 5 models tonight, and you achieve it, guess what? You've achieved your goal. You're motivated. You're excited to kind of crack on and do a bit more, rather than worrying about this thing that is so far away. Stu says, what doesn't help is we'll say tart, shall we? Some tart keeps introducing me to new games. Love you, really. There is that, mate, as well. Sorry. Christian says, you want to support the longevity of the channel. Patreon membership starts from just $2 a month with access to the private Discord group. Thank you very much, Christian, for sharing that link. Yes, as I've mentioned, this is my job now, and I have to make my whole big business plans, and some of that is around support from the community as well, which so far has been fantastic, but more support makes it more comfortable for me as a business. So yeah, if you do like what I do, if you enjoy these live streams, if you feel like you get something out of them, if you feel like I introduce you to games that maybe other channels don't introduce you to, and you want to kind of spend that $2 a month to kind of help out, that would be awesome. Eddie says, it's not a pile of shame, it's a hoard of opportunity. There is that, mate, as well, yeah. Tim saying, get your games ready for when we can play again. Yes, mate, I can't wait for that. Kath says, need 3 hands to build this lot. I'm having fun anyway. Andy's sitting there, Kath. Just get him to reach over and just, can you put your finger on that while I glue these bits? Andy said, can't stop moaning. Vijay says, enjoy listening to people's goals while I sit here working on this Chaos team, which is mine for January. I think you set a fantastic goal, mate. You've kind of set yourself up. You're going to paint your Blitzball teams, but you've kind of, your plan is you've pulled it right the way back to, right, what am I going to do this month? You're not thinking about like, right, well, November I need to do this, and you said, what am I going to do this month? What am I in control of? What can I manage this month, if you like? And I think that's awesome, mate. Andy says, training courses in bog roll. You'd be surprised the training courses I've been on, mate. Not necessarily to do with toilet roll, but like basically I was like a manager of a team, so it was all about managing people, about performance reviews, about project management, all that kind of stuff, mate. It wasn't just about toilet rolls. Eddie says, don't let goals get in the way of fun. It's okay to deviate and do something else. I think that's really important, mate, and that's what I mean about don't beat yourself up about it. Having a goal is something that you can focus on, but you don't need to feel like your whole world depends on it. Like if you care about something enough that you want to set it as your goal, then that will help you stay motivated and stay on track. But if you change your mind, it's a bit of fun. Like nobody's going to drop down dead because you changed your mind, kind of thing. It's like it's your hobby. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be hard work. It's not meant to be stressful. It's not meant to be anxiety inducing. It's meant to bring you joy. And if whatever you're working on is not, if you're not enjoying it, maybe it shouldn't be what you're working on. Maybe it shouldn't be your goal. Tony Booth Leiden, hello mate, is just finishing off packing up and transporting my games to the new place. I have far too many games, hobby, desk, paints, etc. is next. I remember when we moved to this house, and it'll be 4 years in June when we moved here, and I remember packing up all my hobby stuff, and actually it was quite like, bloody hell, I've got more boxes of like games and hobby stuff than I think we have of anything else. Like, it was quite embarrassing, really. You forget it just kind of grows arms and legs, doesn't it? Tony Howell says, Dale Carnegie, use people's names, use them often. That leaves me wanting to tear the head off the person overusing my name. I'm awful with names. I'm terrible at remembering people's names. I never forget a face. I forget names instantly. There was a guy who used to work in my office when I was in Manchester, and I must have kind of like, my desk was at the other end of the office to his, and I could kind of see him sitting at the top. And we didn't really have much to do with each other. We worked in different departments, but I saw him pretty much every day I was in that office. And we always said, morning, morning. I could never remember his name. I would, if I saw him kind of in a crowd, I'd be able to pick him out and I knew exactly who he was. I could never remember his name. I'm awful with names. Where was that one up to? Here we are now. Peter Stockdale says, painting around uni work but hoping to get them done by the end of February. I've already done about 300 points from the elite starter and the rest built. Plans to paint 10 warriors per destroyer. Nice one, mate. I like those kind of little manageable plans. William Jones, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He said, I painted 72 15mm Anglo-Danish Huskals at one time over the course of 3 or 4 days. Never again. Yeah, I think sometimes you need to be in the right frame of mind for batch painting and stuff like that. And I think sometimes painting in like 72 models in one shot like that can be soul destroying. And I think there's sometimes nothing worse to kill the enthusiasm with sometimes things like that as well. So yeah, you sometimes have to sort of break them off into manageable chunks themselves. Peter says the reason to paint those numbers is not just the numbers, it's to reduce the pile of shame. When I did the tally a couple of years back, I had thousands of models unpainted. Even that in itself for me, mate, isn't motivating. Like, I mean, I'm not criticizing like you or your hobby goals things, but even then, it still feels like it is just the numbers. It's like I've got loads of stuff unpainted. I need to get it painted. Like that to me isn't particularly motivating. But like painting just for volume is what it feels like to me. But hey, it's your hobby, mate. You enjoy it however you enjoy it. It feels like a waste of money. So I said to myself, I want to get to the point it's all painted and played. I'd come out from the other way, mate. I'd sell it all. If I just thought it was a waste of money, I'd just sell it. It's stuff I would never ever get round to. I'd probably never get to play with. Andrew Fairbanks says, don't worry, I'm here in spite of the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, there's just some glitch, mate. It says you're 49 minutes late. Adam Edgar says, good morning, Jacket of the Black. Hello, mate. Adam says, what? 43 likes and 100 viewers? How very dare you? We're 51 likes. Oh, I can't believe it. We've got 90 people in and 51 likes. You folks are better than that. Come on. Lawson Deming says, I refuse to play with my work in progress unpainted minis because I'm afraid that if I do, it will undermine my drive to finish them. Playing is my reward for finishing painting, and that's great motivation. First of all, awesome. Nice to see you in the chat. Thank you very much for coming in. I tend to do the same. I very rarely will I play, potentially maybe if it's like a board game or something, or I'm playing to learn something. But generally, I like to paint my miniatures before I play with them. Peter says, to your question, what happens if I don't make it? That's where my sub goals come in. I start the year saying I want to paint X, and then in any case I want to finish project X, Y, and Z. I'm not knocking what you're doing, mate. I think we just come at it from different angles. I would break it down into smaller chunks. Then I would say I'm going to finish project X, and then painting all of those models goes towards the bigger pile, if you like. I think I would break it down into sub goals anyway. Peter says the amount might fail, but I can still achieve what I want it done. Vijay says, preach. It's taken me 5 years back in the hobby to stop painting everything to the best of my ability and start painting to the standards I'm happy with. It took me ages as well, mate, yeah. Vijay says, combine that with an achievable monthly painting goal. It's really improved my mental health around the hobby. It's really, I think we can kind of forget actually sometimes that actually it can be really mentally draining to kind of, this is why I'm a big advocate about not buying up your army up front, not having all your boxes of sort of minis scattered around all over in front of you. Like, I'll do a bit of a hobby room, like my studio tour at some point. I've been promising it for a while, and I always think, people are not really interested in that. But I'll do it just to show you all how I kind of organise my area. One is because I work there every day, so I have to kind of try and keep it tidy. But the other one is just how much stuff is out of the way. I haven't got stuff half finished scattered around all over. Have I got stuff half finished? Of course I have. But by having it lying around in front of me, I find that really quite depressing and quite demotivating. So I clear it away, and I only have the stuff that's on my desk is the things I'm working on. And I have strategically placed around me projects I've finished, things I'm proud of, things that I kind of might have just finished recently, because just catching them out the corner of my eye while I'm sitting working or whatever is quite motivating to say, I finished that. Like, I set myself sort of down to paint those ships for Armada, and I finished them, so I'm going to leave them there on my desk so I can sit and look at them. And I find that really motivating. Excuse me, my throat's really dry. Marcus is saying, the problem is sometimes I under budget for making stuff, like building a scale miniature building or a few other stuff. I can imagine actually that budgeting for jobs that you don't really know what it's going to cost you, I can imagine that's quite easy to do, especially if you're not sort of doing it regularly and things. Adam says, my goal is to try and stay consistent with my hobby this year, enjoy myself and just get stuff done at my own pace without expectations. That's a goal in itself, mate. If all you're saying about staying consistent, if your goal is, every week I want to make sure I've done it, like a little bit of hobby. I want to make sure I've done some hobby every week. That's staying consistent. There's nothing wrong with that as a goal, mate. Eddie says, I find it useful to have 2 projects going so I can switch when I need a short diversion. Typically 2 different ones. A tabletop unit of models and a one-off model. I think that's quite important. I think there's nothing wrong with working on multiple projects. I think the problem is when you're working on like 10 projects at once and then you see this new thing and now I'm going to forget those 10 projects and I'm going to build this stuff. I was guilty of doing that in the past. Andy said, I'm guilty of overthinking. Everything has to be perfect. A throwback from work, I guess. Getting over it now. Yeah, I learned when I was kind of, even in my work life and stuff, it's that whole 80-20 rule thing about actually sometimes getting 80% of the job done is actually sometimes better than getting 100% of the job done, because actually 80% will be enough to make it work. The extra 20% is the nice to have kind of thing. It's the extra bits. And I kind of, that's where I got to with my painting actually. Could I take every model to 100%? Yeah, I definitely could. But I'd be spending a long time just painting things. And actually I wouldn't be getting to play quite so often. Where actually just getting it to 80% of my ability gets me a nice looking model, and then I can just move on and do something else. VJ says, comparing the old and new Citadel handles, hard to pick. I like aspects of both. Marcus says, Andy, just like Hannibal, having wife with dinner. Yes, and a nice Chianti, mate, yeah. Wife with my dinner's had some sort of seasoning. VJ says, Dad, I need to go to the toilet. Dad, I need a drink. If I had $1 for every time I heard those, if I had $1 made for every time I heard those, I wouldn't need to do this for a job. I'd be a rich man on a beach now. Rocky Mountaineer says, you've said this without saying it. Use smart goals. No, I did say that, mate. I said that earlier on when I was kind of doing my main piece. I was saying about using smart goals. I'm terrible at them, which is why I'm listening to you. I'm not saying that I'm great at them either, mine, I must admit. But I do know how to set goals, like from a professional position, if you like, and I know the benefit of them. I'm just not always great at listening to my own advice. Really, I can give advice out. I'm good at. It's one of those things. If you can't do, teach. That's probably one of my best bit. I can tell you what to do. I'm just not always great at listening to my own advice. If somebody else told me, I'd probably think that's a really good idea. I should probably do that. Marcus is saying, okay, I've been accused of hyper-analysing stuff, but I feel like I'm accounting for time and interruption unless I'm playing an RPG and then I'm basically trying to predict what's going to happen. Yeah, I think you can overanalyze stuff, especially when it's like a hobby thing. I mean, what's the consequences of something not being perfect? It's not like our hobby is open heart surgery, is it? Let's be honest. Like we're painting toys, we're painting models, we're playing games. There's no real consequence to like losing a game, making a bad decision. There's no real consequence to sort of not doing a paint job to your best ability. It's meant to be relaxing. It's meant to be fun. It should. At the end of that, like when it comes to hobbies, it doesn't matter whether you're painting miniatures, whether you like playing golf, whatever it is. It's about having fun. The goal at the end of it should always be, I had fun doing it. Like. And maybe that's the ultimate goal, basically. It doesn't really matter what you do or how much you paint or whatever it was. You know what it is? If I had 25 unfinished projects and I never finished one single one of them this year, but I had fun doing every single one of them, maybe I've achieved the best goal. Like at the end of the day, that's really why we do this. And we mustn't kind of overanalyze and beat ourselves up about this stuff. Setting goals and stuff is really useful. Like for times like now, when actually we're lacking a little bit of direction, we're lacking a bit of motivation, we're lacking a bit of like, well, we can't really play games, so why am I bothering with this? And that's why things like the video last week about kind of keeping motivated to keep painting, the video this week about kind of setting goals for yourself. It's all about distraction from everything else that's going on. It's about remembering why we enjoy doing the hobby that we enjoy doing. It's all about having fun. Tony said, I was putting myself under too much pressure 15 years ago. I dialed back on quality and started to enjoy the hobby again. I guess my style is still recognisable. It's not going to win comps, but it makes me happy. And that's all it is, mate. Although, to be fair, I think you're doing yourself down. You paint to a really high standard, even if you are pulling it back. Adam's saying it would win my comp. Yeah. Peter says, being happy in the hobby is a goal in itself, surely. Yes, exactly, mate. And we should only ever really do stuff that makes us happy. Like I said before, it's a hobby. It's not like we're not doing this. It's like going to work every day. You might not enjoy the job you do. You might not enjoy your job. But if the goal is to make enough money to have a happy life and spend time with your family, then maybe sometimes it's worth doing stuff that's not like that isn't that much fun. When it's your hobby, it should always be fun. It should always be enjoyable. I mean, there might be parts of it that you might get a model that's a bit of a pig to build or something like that. So there's always going to be the odd bit, but generally it should always really be about having fun and enjoying yourself. Tasty Brain Drink says, my dad lived by the phrase, those who fail to plan to fail. And he spent several years trying to get me to see the wisdom in that. Eventually I did, but wished that I would have realised it sooner. I think that's just life, mate. I mean, it's like I try to tell my older lads and try and impart all the stuff that I've learned over the years and stuff. But I'm sure my dad told me stuff and I never listened. That's just part of growing up, isn't it? You want to find it out for yourself. And I think sometimes like life lessons like that work best when you fail a few times and you learn for yourself. Otherwise, there would just be a guidebook for life, wouldn't there? Andrew says, I've been looking good for my first week and a half. For those who've already fallen off the New Year's goals horse, get some new goals and jump back on. Exactly, mate. Christian saying, help support the channel. Grab yourself some BlackJack merch. Yes, this is one of such fashionable items. Very, very high quality polo shirts. Kath says, I'm using the hobby to switch my brain off from work. My goal is fun and relaxation. That's exactly where I started, Kath. I started painting purely just to kind of come in, turn off from work, forget about the horrible day I'd had, just kind of focus it. When I'm sitting painting, I can't think about anything else. I have to concentrate 100% on what I'm doing. I might have music on in the background. I might have a podcast. I might have a Netflix show on or something like that. But I'm not really watching or listening to those things. They're just background noise, really, just to get rid of the silence. I find painting just absorbs me like of anything else that's going on. I find it hugely relaxing. Peter says, I haven't any hobby goals this year so far, just to stay healthy enough to enjoy whatever hobby I manage to do. I'll be honest, I've not set any hobby goals this year either. I'm saying about how important they are. I've not really set myself any, but I will. And this is where this topic has come from, really, is because I've been thinking about it the last few days about actually what do I want to do for myself? Not do I want to do for channel stuff, what do I want to do for videos, or what do I want to do for live streams and things. what do I actually want to do for myself? What's my hobby this year that isn't work, if you like? And I'll be setting myself some goals, because then I can focus on them, and that way I can kind of hold myself accountable. So while I'm sitting working on this particular goal, that's not work. That's my hobby. That's me switching off. There's no rush. I'll do it in my own time, kind of thing. Bobby Clark says, when I set my goals, I avoid having a plan. I avoid having a plan B. By focusing on plan A only, I find I'm much more productive and have a greater chance of success. It's okay to fail and get back up again, I find. I think there's a lot of truth in what you said there, mate. I think sometimes people spend more time worrying about, well, what if it all goes wrong? And like I say, I've obviously got sort of professional experience in project management. One of the things you do, I would never suggest we do it in hobby and stuff like that, but in big projects that I've managed, you'll do a risk analysis at the start of the project. And there's essentially a few things that you take into account. What's the impact on the project if this doesn't work, if this fails? Like, if it's got a minor impact on the project, then let's not even worry about it. If it fails, it fails. It's not going to derail the project. But if it has a major impact on the project, then we need a backup plan for that bit. And that's I'm talking about multi-million-pound projects. It's a bit different when you talk about painting an army, really. Just have a plan A when it's stuff like that. Because in the grand scheme of things, if you fail, you fail. It's not the end of the world. Like I said before, our hobby isn't open heart surgery. So you can afford to not have a fallback plan. You can afford to not fail. If, for example, you're painting an army because you're going to an event, and the failure, if you fail to paint it in time, you might need a backup plan. Because what you don't want to do is go, oh, well, I haven't got a backup plan, and then that means that basically there's no point me going to the event because I haven't got an army to play. You might want to have a backup plan. You might say, oh, well, my backup plan is if I don't achieve it, I've got another army. I don't really want to play that one at the event. I want to play the new one. But you've got a fail-safe, if you like. But yeah, I think generally when it just comes to hobby stuff, there's no need to have a plan B. Derek said, I think different techniques for using goals work for different people. I like long-term ones, get an army finished for whatever game, and then I break it down to smaller objectives. And I think that's the plan, mate. I think that's generally what I kind of recommend. I think breaking it down into smaller chunks really is the planning phase, and almost part of that plan, I'd liken it back to kind of managing big projects again. You give yourself milestones. It's like, I need to achieve this by this time, or I want to achieve this by this point, or I'm not. We do things called critical paths. And a critical path basically is, well, I can't do this until that's finished, and I can't do that until that's finished. So that gives you the order of that you need to paint things in. And maybe you kind of set yourself a critical path for your own project. You might say, I'm not painting this hero model until I've painted that 10 unit of warriors. That might be how you decide to kind of motivate yourself. Robert says, I'm painting 25 power Genestealer Cult Army for 40k. About 1 to 5 minis until they're done. Amazing, mate. You're flying through them. Procrastinator says, my goal is to touch my minis at least once a day. So, sorry, that just sounded really... It was my childish kind of schoolboy humour there. Touch my minis at least once a day. Sometimes I don't even paint, but just sort them or plan what landscape they should belong to. It's an opportunity, not my work. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes just enjoying the idea of I'm just planning. Even the planning phase is enjoyable. It's part of your hobby. People love kind of list writing and list building and stuff, or planning out how a diorama's going to look, or researching an army to pick a colour scheme. That's all part of your planning. If you're enjoying that, absolutely great. Knock yourself out. James Bray, good evening, mate. How are you doing? Andrew Fairbanks is saying, build a goal tracker. It'll make you feel good about those things you accomplished. Yeah, I think it's like I said before about even just you have an Instagram page and just take pictures and have somewhere where you can kind of access to see what you've been doing. David says, I have a 28-day challenge in February that I need to figure out some goals for. Ooh, I'd like to hear more about that, mate. Procrastinator says, when I lose the dream, I can as well stop and paint. I completely agree, mate. If you're not enjoying it, just pack it in. Vijay says, also getting the community involved in picking which order I paint the teams is great to keep me accountable to someone. Do you know what it is, mate? Sometimes I'm not always a big fan in announcing what I'm going to do I sometimes rather just go ahead and do it, because if you don't achieve it, for whatever reason, you've kind of left yourself out there hanging and people going off, I thought you were going to do this, or I thought you were going to do that. I'm especially conscious of that as like somebody making videos and stuff. If I say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and then for whatever reason I don't do it because I lose interest or something else comes along, or I can't do what I wanted to do, it kind of makes me look like, well, he's full of hot air kind of thing. He doesn't do what he said he was going to do. So I am kind of conscious of that kind of stuff. However, that said, making things public, right, even just writing them down where you can see them, is sometimes enough to hold yourself accountable. James says, okay, wish me luck, resin pour time. Fingers crossed for you, buddy, take your time. Martin is saying, I'll say my painting has slowed in the last couple of years because I learned that some minis look better if you paint stuff in parts and glue together. I used to do that, mate, for certain models. These days, I'm a bit less kind of hung up on it. And actually, I tend to think if I've given them a good zenithal prime, the bits that I probably can't get at very well, it'll be shaded, because that's how zenithal priming works. And if my brush can't touch it, then it's probably in the shadow anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. So yeah, I used to kind of do things in like part assembly, like sub-assembly painting and stuff. But yeah, not unless it's a particularly big model and it's kind of, or it's an important, like something I want to try and like sort of paint my best on, if you like. This is put my finger where. Vijay says, as we know, I love community projects. Definitely, mate. John Estel says, can we pledge to Patreon so you don't introduce us to new games? I'd be net positive if you did. Yeah, if you pledge at the $50 a month pledge, I will stop telling you about new games. Let me have a look here. I was just skipping ahead there. Where the hell was that one? That was where it was. Mark says, my goal is to watch every single video that Andy releases. That is a perfect goal, mate. I will hold you to that one. Paul says, currently, good evening, Paul, by the way. Currently on with my 2021 Star Saga goal, which I split down into 5 stages with a 6th stretch target. I was aiming for 1 stage a month, but having started stage 1, need more time, maybe an extra 2 weeks. And there's nothing wrong with that, mate. That's the same in any kind of project and stuff when you're breaking it down into goals. Sometimes you just find actually you underestimated it or something got in the way. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And that's my point about not beating yourself up about, and I don't mean you specifically, but people set yourself a goal, but don't don't pin yourself down over it. Josh is saying, my goal is to build and paint 1,000 points of Gloomspite, Gits, Warcry, Warband by the end of the month. See, now I think that is quite ambitious. I would potentially even break that down further and say, well, I need to do 250 points a week. So I need to paint 250 points every week, because I think that what tends to happen in projects like that is you end up rushing at the end of the month, or you're setting yourself up to fail. I don't know how much time you've got in your hands. I don't know how many models that is. I've got no idea. But I always find those kind of like an army in a month or an army in a weekend or a 24-hour kind of painting thing. I always find that sometimes you kind of, unless you've really done the legwork, and this is where it kind of gets funny so a lot of these kind of YouTube channels that say, I'm going to paint an army in 24 hours. And you think, all right, okay. What you don't see is they've probably spent 2 or 3 weeks prepping for that 24 hours. So they've done the test model. They know exactly what colours to do in what order. They've maybe kind of pre-mixed stuff into little dropper bottles to get ready for it. They know exactly, maybe the bases are already done. Maybe everything's already primed and built and stuff. So when it comes to that 24 hours, it's not took 24 hours to paint an army. It's took 3 weeks to paint an army, because there was 3 weeks there was 2 weeks and 6 days of prep to get to that 24-hour period. Marcus says, this is bad, but I became friends with some guys in middle school that already knew each other. Others, so they would not really use names. So it took me 1.5 years to learn their names. I can imagine, mate. Peter says, did you just say you would sell my babies? I don't remember, mate. That was probably about 10 minutes ago, was it? I can't remember if I said that. 20 minutes ago, to be fair. Vaughnwood, good evening, mate. He said, I'm on a complete hobby slump. My problem with motivation is now I have no regular gaming partners, so I can't get started again. I know I should just get back into it, but that's the initial hurdle. I think it depends, mate. Sometimes it's nice to take a break. Just don't force it. If you want to have a little break from it, just have a break. If you only ever really paint models to play, just take a break, do something different, come back when you can. But if you enjoy painting, then don't let the lack of games kind of put you off. Just buy a model for something you're never going to play and just paint something for the pure enjoyment of just painting it. Try something a little bit different that way. Tidy your hobby desk and stuff. I always find I'm always like raring to paint something when my desk's all nicely cleaned and polished and all my paints are in the right spot. Andrew says, yeah, I'm trying to build a whole pile of shame this year. No shame for owning the things unpainted. It's your hobby, mate. If you get enjoyment from it, you get enjoyment from it. Bazza Underdog Painting, good evening, mate. He says, hi, mate. Yeah, definitely need hobby goals. Mine is 2,000 subs and me making better content is the way. I'm always funny about that, mate. I never set subscriber numbers as a goal because I have absolutely no control over people subscribing unless I'm physically going to go around everybody's house and go, press the subscribe button, press the subscriber. I can't control subscribers. The only way to grow a channel is to just make consistent content. And if you make consistent content and people enjoy it, the subscribers will come. So my goal would be, if I would kind of turn it back to you, my goal for you would be to make one video every week or make one video every 2 weeks. That's a much more achievable goal that you can manage. And if you do that, if you stay consistent and do a video every 2 weeks, you'll have done 26 pieces of content in a year and you'll grow your subscribers based upon that. Lord Maiden says, be right back. I finished his goal for a day, glued together the 7 new minis that came today. Ulverbite, good evening. Says, getting rid, selling off stuff you know you'll never get to or lost interest in also brings a good feeling about yourself, narrowing down your focus. I'm a big believer in that as well, mate. David says, it's time to pick up the kiddo. Thanks for the chat. You're welcome, David. Thanks for coming in. James says, I spent a fortune on my dioramas because it's the first time I've done them. Very satisfying though. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. It can get expensive because you don't necessarily know how to do something. Sometimes you've got to buy tools that you don't have, or you've got to buy materials that you don't have. It can get quite expensive, but like I said before, if you're enjoying it, you're enjoying it. If you can afford it, then not to worry about it, really. Peter says, seriously, my way is my way. I really understand that it's not for you. Some people like short-term success to motivate you on the next one. I just like a bloody chaotic mess to go through. I'm not knocking you, mate. Honestly, please don't take it the wrong way. I almost admire the fact that that's how you work best. We all work differently. We all have different motivations, mate. There's nothing wrong. None of us are right. None of us are wrong. Christian saying, are you picking up any new toys? On the hobby supplies, don't forget Andy's Goblin Gaming affiliate link. Goblin Gaming at the minute have an offer on, they have a competition on, I think, that if you spend over £50 on an order this month in January, you are entered into a competition to win, I think it's £100 worth of Goblin Gaming vouchers, I think. I'm going to have to go and Google it now and see if I can, just to make sure I'm not giving you the wrong information. I'm pretty sure they've got some kind of an offer at the minute. I might have to look on their Facebook page and see what was. I'm sure I saw it. Where the hell was it? They've definitely got something on at the minute. Check it out. If I can find, yeah, it must have been on Twitter or something. I saw it, or they must have sent me an email. But they've definitely got some offer on at the minute. I'll try and clarify what it is. Andrew says, I own some things I never intend on doing, just holding long enough to sell at a profit later, but them just being there, kind of want to crack them open and use them. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly buy things to kind of like to speculate on them going up in price and stuff. It's not, I generally don't do that kind of stuff. I don't think I've probably made profit on things purely by accident when I've sold them later, but yeah, I never kind of set out with that in mind. Vijay says, speaking of having finished projects out for motivation, the wife isn't a fan of me having a display case in the living room. I already have one in the studio, but I got permission for a single mini display. What do people recommend? I was looking at those solar rotating jewellery displays, but finding a glass dome to go over it has been a pain. I'm not sure, mate. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what to give you advice for that. Andrew says, mounted above the fireplace. I'm back where we at, says Lord Maiden. Tim says, no, it's not like open heart surgery. It's far more important than that. Andrew saying, thinking of putting a painting tutorial, advice on how to go about doing it. Step by step, good camera angle, make sure everything's in shot, edit it down so it's not too long, just show and explain. I would say personally things like Duncan's painting tutorials, either the ones he does on his channel now or the stuff that he used to do with GW. I tend to find Sarastro is another one I enjoy seeing his painting tutorials. I think that's what I would recommend. Jason said, I ordered black currant tea bags off Amazon. They smell wonderful. Jonathan, my goals are usually motivated by getting stuff to the table at the moment with plenty to play. My motivation is either nice models or a new technique to try, like the airbrush. Yeah, I think my motivation's never really to get them to the table. I like to have them painted before I play, but actually my motivation probably comes from actually just painting them. I think that's kind of where I get the enjoyment from having fully painted stuff. Whether I play with them or not is almost irrelevant. Marcus says, I find when it comes to people who overthink things, there are two types. Those that are looking ahead and trying to overcome stuff before it becomes a problem. The second are just worried about things going wrong and becoming overwhelmed. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. Luke says, also, it's good to remember what does it actually mean to fail. If you plan to finish a unit or an army by the end of March but don't finish it by mid-April, what have you failed? Yeah, exactly, mate. As I was saying before, I think we're probably just catching up with stuff that I was talking about. Where Eddie saying GW's Tale of Four Gamers is a nice and fun example of setting achievable goals. Yeah, I think one thing was the thing I did last year, which was the Kings of War, kind of like the 2,000 point challenge, which was about breaking it down into it'll take 8 months, just paying 250 points a month. That seemed quite manageable, and a lot of people kind of really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and not being able to get together to play games and all that kind of took the wheels off it a little bit. But a lot of people got fully painted armies that wouldn't have had fully painted armies originally. James says it sprang a link. Quick mate, get some tape on it. Christian sharing the link there for Amazon. Thank you very much, Christian. Marcus is saying, find the paint scheme for my Tyranid. It took 2.5 years. It came to me one day when I was at a park and a large eastern rhinoceros beetle landed on me and I hit it. And it hit me, sorry, not me, it hit it. Wow, mate, I don't think I would kind of procrastinate for just quite that long. I'll take a 3-inch bug. James says, look good until all the resin came out the side. Yeah, I've never done any resin pours, mate. I'm not the person to tell you. Vijay says, first time painting with a Citadel metallic after using Vallejo metal colour on my last project. Next hobbies purchase will be a full set of metal colours. Are you talking about a full set of Citadel ones or a full set of Vallejo ones, mate? Spiderlord says, rest of the UMC first, then Necrons, and then Dark Elder. It's a rough plan. Nice one. James says, no idea how it leaked. It had plastic liner between layers of cork and 2 PVA coats at different stages. It will find, it's like mice, they find the tiniest of gaps, mate. James is saying, I think I can capture it all dripping out, wait for it to dry, and then pour again. Yeah, to be honest, it'll start to go off, mate. James says, when it leaked, I think I can cover with some more basin. That's the way, mate. Just make it work. Make it work. VG saying a full set of the Vallejo metal colours. Right. Mark says he's airbrushing his GW order just arrived. A nice one, mate. I don't mind the GW colours, the metals. I'll be honest, mate. I've never really had any issues with them. Peter says I never took it the wrong way, mate, and I definitely like seeing what other people take as goals. It's personal goal. Yes, mate, exactly. It's all personal. Tony says Duncan's personal channel is very good. He does a good job at helping with things like thinning paints and many other things. Yeah, I think when you're doing a painting tutorial, you have to kind of remember that it's for all abilities generally, and never feel that, oh, well, everybody knows how to do that. Explain the obvious. When I've done painting videos and I've talked about dry brushing, I've explained what dry brushing is and I've explained how to do dry brushing. If I do another painting video on a different model, I'll still explain it again, because there's nothing to say the person that watched the first video is the person that's watching the second video. There's nothing to say they're watching it in that particular order. There's nothing to say that they'll watch both. So I tend to explain the basics every time I do them. James says, I could have maybe let the resin get a bit more thick before I poured, but I needed it to flow a bit. You've probably not done anything wrong, mate. It's probably just one of those things where it finds a hole. Rocky's saying, where are the Vallejo metal colours in stock? Last time I looked, they were nearly impossible to get. I've heard they're even better than Vallejo's Model Air metallics. I don't really buy the Vallejo stuff, mate, so I'm not that familiar with them actually being able to pick them up. Just Kev says, hey gang, hobby goals: to finish all my painting projects without starting any new ones. That's never a bad goal, mate. May God have mercy on my soul. Flying Mammal saying, night all, thanks for the company, stay safe as always. You too, Ruth, thank you very much for coming in, take care. And Adam says, I don't want an online shop if I can help it. At the minute, mate, we're not really supposed to go anywhere, so online shopping helps. Brennick says, pick 3 new games up to concentrate on this year: Star Wars Legion, Aliens, and 40k 9th edition. Won't get a game before May at this rate unless I buy a bigger house. Hello, Brennick, by the way. I tell you what, mate, the size of the house is not my issue. It's having somebody to play against. How are we doing for time? Oh, perfect. I've caught up with the chat there. Did I miss a few ones? Or no, I think there was a few people having a conversation there, so I managed to catch up. Phew. Let me have a little drink now. Adam says, you missed what I was talking about. I think were you talking about the Vallejo stuff, mate? Is that what it was? Peter says, I got a pot of Vallejo gunmetal grey, almost the same colour as a lead belcher. And Vijay's saying, yeah, the Vallejo metallics are hands down better than GW ones. You should give them a crack. It's like chalk and cheese. Yeah, I might one day, mate. I just never have any problems with them, so I don't really feel the need to replace them, mate. And Vijay said, not sure where you can get the metal colours overseas, but in Australia there's a few stockists. It can be hard to get. Yeah, that's generally why if I find something I'm happy with and I can get it, like access to it easily, I tend not to worry about like there's all, like, for example, I think like P3 whites are like some of the best white paints out there, but they're an absolute pain in the backside to try and pick up. Adam says, I asked what good colour shift paints that I might be able to get in a hobby store. I thought you were talking about the Vallejo stuff, mate. I apologise. I don't really know much about the colour shift paints. Yeah, so just kind of recapping over a couple of things, folks. Don't forget, tomorrow there will be a video where you can enter to win a Mantic Kings of War Mega Army worth £100. It's going to be to one of my subscribers. You'll basically have to be a subscriber. You'll have to comment on the video with, I haven't decided what yet, and there'll be a time frame and then a cut-off point, and then we'll do probably a live draw on the following week's Monday Night Live. And that's been very kindly donated by Mantic just to kind of say congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. So it's really, really kind of them. Please do go and check out their stuff. Even better, go to Goblin Gaming through my affiliate link and check out their stuff. You get 20% off. And I get a small commission from that as well, which is awesome for me. It helps keep the lights on here. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, and don't forget, please go over and check out Odd-Sided Dice Podcast. He's doing a thing at the moment, which is basically they're building kit bashed models, auctioning them on eBay, and the money goes to help Models for Heroes charity, which is a very, very worthy cause. So yeah, please do check those things out. Adam says, Luke says, how are you getting on with Hero Quest? Did I miss it getting finished? No, it's still in a box in the cupboard. As I mentioned before, mate, the stuff that's not finished, I tend to move out of my line of sight. Not only does it move out of my line of sight, it moves out of my head as well, and I completely forget about it. I'll be getting it back at some point, mate, and we'll be getting it finished. John says, I'm not recommending painting with cheese. The metallics are awful. You don't want metallic cheese, mate, do you? Rocky Mountain says, good show, sub to this channel and to the Facebook group. Thank you very much, Rocky Mountain. Nice to see you in. And hopefully we'll see you in again soon. Tony says, I'm the same. I've been using Green Stuff World metals. They're excellent. And I feel I've found my metallics home. Yeah, I honestly don't find the Games Workshop metallics awful. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I've just never had any problems with them. Brennick's saying he got the Protoss versus Predator game, but the rules were dreadful. Yeah, I don't know much about the old one. Peter says, okay, I'll achieve a goal of entering the Basin Challenge this month. Yeah, don't forget about the Basin Challenge. VG says, yeah, keen to see more progress on the Hero Quest minis. We might do it on one of the Wednesday painting streams, I think. Peter says, anyone use an unfinished project list to track what you still have to do? Helps you not forget. I think Marco, if he's still around, Marco used to keep a really kind of like very professional looking project list of stuff he needed to do. And Adam says, I might enter my Demon Prince in the base challenge. Do it, mate. All we need is a photograph and then email it across to me. We've got quite a few coming in already, so there's a few people already entering that competition. But yeah, why not? Trello he used. Yeah, I think it was Trello actually, now you mention it. I forgot about that. It's not something I've ever used before, but I've heard of it. Cool. So, I managed to catch up on the chat there. My voice is getting dry. We might as well kick off for another 15 minutes. We'll finish up about 11 o'clock. Is there anything anybody wants to chat about? Have you got any questions? Have you got any suggestions for things you'd like to see? If you haven't checked out the video I did last Friday, which was the portable battery-operated airbrush, please do check it out. I think you'll be quite surprised by it. It certainly it wasn't what I expected. I expected it to be pretty naff, if I'm honest, and actually it wasn't that bad at all. So it's worth checking out. Luke says Marco's list is just the same entry over and over. Paint something amazing. Yeah, he was really well organised. Peter says too many choices, lots of half finished painted models with bases. Yeah, Peter says he's going to have a look. AD says, you think you'll cover any BattleTech? No, probably not, mate. BattleTech's not really something that interests me, and it's no, that's pretty much it. It's not really. It's not the easiest thing to pick up in the UK either. I very rarely see it for sale anywhere. But yeah, I would say 99% it won't get covered on the channel, mate. Lord Min says, I found that I use GW, Vallejo, and Hobby, and my Hobby Mr. Metal Colour Metals. I found all three are decent to use. I just found that the gold colours need shaking more. Yeah, I think that's the same with a lot of paints. As long as you kind of prep them properly and kind of shake them up. Same with army painted stuff as well. As long as it's really kind of really mixed and agitated. I've never really had any issues with GW paints. I just find them. I can pick them up at my local stores, and they do what I need them to do. I'm sure there's other paints that are probably better, but I'm not painting to any kind of standard that worries me, really. Andrew says, how about them rams and booze and bacon? I'm sure we'll get to that, mate. Adam says, the airbrush sounds pretty good for priming. It's awesome for priming, mate. If you've got a small, if you don't have a dedicated area where you can kind of keep like a dedicated airbrush, the little small one's perfect for things like priming and base coating. Tony says, I think it was probably a cost thing, but GW metallics have a tendency to be extremely grainy. Maybe they dry out a bit grainy like that. I've never really found it. I've had the odd one, but the same. I've had other brands of paints as well that have gone a bit gloopy and stuff like that, where they've kind of dried out. But yeah, I've generally just not really had any issue with them. Luke's in Trello's a good platform. We've never used it, I've never used it, mate. It wasn't something my old company used to use. You see, it's probably a cost thing. The thing with the cost is by the time I buy from somewhere else, I've lost any savings. So, and I've mentioned this loads of times before, I can get GW paints in local stores. I can't get other brands in local stores. So if I have to buy those brands, I have to buy them online. So I'm either paying for shipping for a few pots of paint, or I'm buying lots more stuff to top it up to try and get free shipping. And by the time I do that, I've then got to wait for it all to arrive. So it negates any kind of savings, really. So it's like, for me, for the extra kind of 50p or whatever it is kind of that's already saved by not having to kind of pay for delivery online. Peter saying paints. Andy says, how about beginners Malifaux content? Yeah, I did mention about doing that stuff. I want to get the stuff painted that I've got, basically, so I've got some nice painted stuff to use. But I'll certainly be touching on that one soon as well. Peter says paints are never better or worse, but different. Yeah, I just find like I've the way I paint, I've learned to paint with the paints I've got, kind of thing. So I'm never really like looking for a better red or a better white or a better metallic or something like that. I use what I use kind of thing. Lord Maiden says there's a lore video for Malifaux that I've done. Yeah, there is, mate. Yeah. Luke said I would love to do some Malifaux content, a general video of rules and overview how it plays. It's not quite like most things that's out there. Yeah, it is my intention to do a bit of a kind of like a how to play a beginner's guide. I'm trying to do it so it's a bit like the guys over at what's the name of the channel again? T&G Productions have just done a how to play a Malifaux video, which I think came out at the weekend. The downside for me is, whilst I think their content is really, really good quality, I think it lasts about like an hour and 45, an hour and 50 minutes, which I think for a kind of a how to play video is probably a bit long. I'm aiming to get it down to like probably like sort of 20, 30 minutes max. It's not going to kind of teach you how to play perfectly, but it will give you all the basics to kind of understand if this is a game that you want to get into, and it'll be enough to kind of say, oh, well, I understand how it works, I'll work the rest out as I go kind of thing. And those kind of videos just take time to do. You know, it's like the old adage, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. It's like it's easy to put loads of information in. The hard bit is being able to distill it down and kind of sort of craft it to a manageable time frame. So yeah, I do intend to do that. But I want to finish painting the minis first, so I've got some nice painted stuff to go in there. Vijay says the thing with Vallejo metallics compared to Citadel ones is they're one coat, super solid coverage, and slide of the brush really nicely. I don't think I've ever had problems with like having to do multiple coats of the metallics, if I'm honest. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I paint too thick. It might be me. Adam says I have to get mine out and pack it away each time. Puts me right off. Takes ages. And then do a heap all at once. Yeah, the small one, mate, it's perfect for that. Rocky Mountain saying, agree with Malifaux, got a pile of Bayou that needs assembly and painting. I'll definitely be covering Malifaux stuff. Malifaux is something I intend to play once I can get games again. I love Malifaux. I've talked about it many, many times. I'd already started buying Malifaux stuff before the guys at Weird reached out and sent me some stuff as well. So I'm all over that kind of thing. But it's fitting it in at the minute. I'm crafting stuff sort of video wise with stuff I can do on my own, and that one's a bit of a bigger project. It'll take quite a long time to script and film and edit and craft it into like a really. I want it to look good. I want it to look professional. I want it to be the go-to place. If you want to know how to play Malifaux, that's the video to watch. I don't want it to just be something where people go, oh yeah, it's all right. I want to really kind of go the extra mile with it. So, yeah, I'll be working on that one, but it might take a little while. Brennick says, anything new due this year you're looking forward to, other than getting to play something? Anything new this year? I was contacted today by War Cradle Studios, and were very complimentary and asked if I'd be interested in taking a look at the new Dystopian Wars 3rd edition box set. So I think they're going to send out a pre-release copy of that to me. So I'll be having a look at that. It's a game that was kind of on my radar. I said kind of publicly I wasn't going to pick it up myself until the rules kind of settled down a little bit, because I've been burned a little bit with Wild West Exodus in the past. However, if they want to send it out for me to take a look at and review, I'm more than happy to do that. Luke says, I have a weird thing. I can't bring myself to buy paint online. I need to see it to know it's the colour I'm after. I think that's another reason, mate, why I've stuck with the GW stuff, is because I've used it for so long. I know what those colours are, if you like. I know but I know what you mean. I'm fortunate now. I've got a full range of the paints. But when I was picking up I want some purples for a particular colour scheme I'm doing. I prefer to go in store and pick up the three I like to paint in that exaggerated highlights type thing. So I'll have like 3 colours of different shades, if you like, and I like to go in and sort of hold them next to each other and kind of match them out. I know exactly what you mean. Andy saying, yeah, I mean how to play. VG saying, Battletech Alpha Strike is a great game. The minis are fun to paint, but I'd never play the full version again. It's crunchier than a mouthful of bolts. Yeah, and that's exactly the feelings that's what I've been told about it. and it's not something that particularly interests me. If it was a game that played in half an hour on a small board, I might think, it's worth a try. Luke says, yeah, that is just a battle report, isn't it, at nearly 2 hours? I watched a little bit of it, mate, because to be honest, I've always said, if there's already a really good video out there that does what I was going to do, there's no point me duplicating content. So when I saw Tom had released the How to Play Malifaux video, I thought, maybe I'll not bother doing it. So I took a look at it, and that was when I saw it was nearly 2 hours long, and I thought, actually, that's not what I was going to do. To give you an idea of what I've got in my head, if you see the kind of videos that GW do when they get Becca Scott to kind of give you the basics of how a game plays, that's kind of where I'm kind of aiming the video at. It might be a bit more in depth than that, but that's essentially what I'm kind of looking at. And I'm going to use Malifaux as a bit of a test, really. And if it works well, I'll probably go and do a number of other games, basically like a how to play type thing. Because I think there's a little niche to kind of carve out, really. You don't get a lot of really high quality, succinct, sort of top level how to play miniatures games. There's loads of channels do board games really well. People like Rodney Smith and things like that. They do really, really good how to play a board game kind of thing. There's not a lot for miniature gaming. You essentially have to watch a battle report to kind of try and learn how a game plays. But I think there's room for kind of for really sort of well produced, well edited, kind of sort of smaller length. This is the basics. This is how a game plays. So it essentially gives you enough information to say, yeah, actually, I like the sound of this gameplay. I like the basic rules, the basic mechanics, but doesn't basically take you into the nth degree of basically how to play like every single rule and every single miniature. Adam says, I'm keen to get in a bot war this year. I have it on my wish list. Hopefully I can get some overtime and a new job so I can get some of it. I've actually got the bot war starter set. And again, I've not managed to get any games of it in. The guy basically who owns the company contacted me saying, are you going to do any content with it? And I just said, look, at the minute, I can't play it. I can't get any games in to actually play the game, which is really kind of like hindering me at the moment. Lord Maiden said, I don't want to fully know how many Malifaux models that I have in total. I own several crews. VJ says, any chance of any more Armada videos with Lou coming? Potentially, mate. I mean, the problem is it's just kind of is the time it takes. It takes more time to play a normal game than it, like when you're filming it. It takes more time to do it than it just takes to play a game. So what ends up happening is a game that you might see on video for about an hour and 20 minutes might be like a 3-hour game. And by the time we get the little one down for bed, by the time we have something to eat, Lou's a bit of an early bird, so she's up like 5:30 in the morning. She tends to like want to go to bed a little bit earlier at night time. It's not the easiest to squeeze the time in. And then weekends are a write-off, obviously, because we're looking after the little one and stuff. So you kind of have to try and grab those moments when we can. So potentially yes, but I wouldn't say it's going to happen in the next few weeks or something, for example. Andy Smith saying, excellent, be good to see a clear vid. Yeah, I want to just try and I want to try and really I want to showcase the game on how to play to understand the basics. If the one that I do for Malifaux works, there's things like Code 1 for Infinity I'd like to do. I'd love to do one for Wild West Exodus. I'd love to do one for things like Vanguard, potentially do one for Armada. It's the kind of stuff that I can do on my own because it's not reliant on physically playing a game. It's almost like a scripted, so to do this, you do this. And essentially, if I can write a script of of step by step what I want to show, and then I film everything as like, right, I need to film showing flipping cards kind of thing. I need to show a model moving, and I write myself like a shot list of all the things I need to do. They take time to do, but I can do them on my own. And let's be honest, I'm going to be doing this on my own for probably at least another 6 months, I would imagine. So so that's kind of where I'm at for this year. I'm trying to raise the quality of what I'm doing by focusing on the bits of the niche I can carve out for myself, basically. Luke says, Dystopian Wars, I want to look at that. Really enjoyed the original. I never played the original, mate. I remember seeing it from afar and it looked pretty cool, but I never did play it. Eddie Mays is signing off. Thanks for a wonderful chat. Thank you, Eddie. Thanks for coming in. Fiji said, I find it similar to comparison of Alpha Strike to Battletech is Blitz Bowl to Blood Bowl. I enjoy streamlined, faster games that are designed to be fun. Yeah, I tend to like faster games. I'd rather play a fast-playing game 3 times than play one game that lasts, say, 3 times as long, if you like. Lord Minster, I found that with Griffhound Charger Orange. I thought it was an orange on the website, but when I saw it in person, it looks more like orangey brown in the bottle. There's a few colours like that where they're called like something green or something blue, and actually when you get them, they're very different. Although to be fair, mind the Citadel paint app's pretty good for that. Where were we up to there? That one there disappeared fast. People chatting backwards and forwards. Peter says, personally, if I like 40k, I'd rather go with Titanicus than Battletech. Keeps you in the same narrative. Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that. If you like the general kind of the background lore and the world of a particular game, that's sometimes enough to kind of sway you one way or another. Mike G says, sorry I'm late, had to do some shopping. Don't worry about it, mate. Nice to see you. Spiderlord says, Army Painter just did a new range of metallics. Need to check them out. Luke says, there absolutely isn't anyone known for the Rodney Smith type content for miniature games. Is it just because there aren't enough different games? I'd love to see that from you. I think, mate, it's not because there's not enough different games. I think it's because it's hard work. So, like, people do how to plays for games that they're genuinely interested in. I think the closest you come is when like Beasts of War or On Tabletop get like a creator in and they take them through a how to play type thing. But I don't think anybody, like, I'm a big fan of what GW do, where they get Becca Scott in and she basically talks through how the basics work. She did a good job with kind of like Necromunda stuff. She did a good job with the Aeronautica Imperialis. She did a good job with Kill Team. They did a good job with Warcry. I think there's an opportunity to do something along them lines with a really kind of high production quality, push it a little bit deeper than what they do, because I think their videos tend to maybe be like 10 minutes or something like that. You could maybe push it to 20 minutes, maybe at the far end of it, maybe half an hour, or at that point you might want to break it down into like a playlist of maybe two or three videos. But I think there's an opportunity for somebody to kind of to pick up that mantle and do that. I'm giving away all my ideas now, but that's something that's been at the back of my mind for a while. And one of the things that's kind of been stopping me is a case of like, it takes a long time. You need to learning a miniatures game and then being able to kind of teach it back on video takes a long time. You need to have models. You need to have them all painted. You need terrain that really looks good. So it's all these things, but slowly in the background, what people don't see is I'm painting up bits of terrain. I'm kind of getting like sort of like mats and things. All them things are happening in the background so that eventually I can get to that point where I can start to like take on the next step. So like, yeah, even just doing it on my own, it means like it just takes time to get there really. So yeah, I honestly think, I think I can, and I don't mean this to sound like I'm kind of blowing my own trumpet, but I think I can kind of teach games in a way that people understand like what I'm trying to explain when I'm talking about the rules. And I think there's maybe an opportunity for me to carve like a little kind of semi-niche out in like, this is how to play that particular game. And who knows, in the future, it might be that I can make... I didn't get that. Ooh. Could you try again? Sorry, Siri there. It might be in the future, I can make part of my business is a case of, would you like me to make a how to play a video for your game that you then basically put on your YouTube channel or you put on your website and pay me to do it kind of thing. There's maybe a bit of a back route into that kind of stuff as an additional source of income that makes this whole thing sustainable. And that's kind of where my head's at really. We'll see how it takes. I think anybody could do it. nobody really has, that's all. Adam says, bot war with Lou. It's not Lou's kind of game, mate. She's not a big fan of kind of like multiple stats all over and measuring devices and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and she's offered to kind of help with stuff, but I know for a fact if she's playing it just to kind of help me out and she's not interested, it's not going to come across on camera right. Nobody wants to see somebody playing a game when they're not having fun, basically, and that's important to me. I'd rather not record that than ask her to help me and then basically like not enjoy it and not come across on camera that way. Rocky Mountain saying, awesome, are the old fleets compatible with the new stuff? I believe so. I'm not certain. Peter saying, I believe there are too many variables in war games to fully explain everything in the same as Rodney. You can explain the basics, but never every possible angle. I don't think you need to explain every possible angle. Think about it as getting a demo game at like a convention. They're never going to explain everything to you, but they're going to explain enough so you play the basics and then think, oh, I had fun with that. It's something I want to look into a little bit more deeply. I want to try and replicate that demo experience in a high quality video, if you like. That's kind of where my head's at. A lot of factions have changed that they bring into the universe. Oh yeah, there is factions changing, isn't there? I forgot about that bit because there's all the Enlightened and the Crown and what's the other ones? I forget the names now. But there's loads of new things. Mike G says, thing about Malifaux is that every mini has its own unique rules. So unless you can memorize a lot or have opponents' minis cards on hand, it's really hard to know what they can do. You do get the app, mate, so you always have access to your opponent's cards. But I think it's like any game, like 40k is the same. Every kind of little unit has its own special rules. AOS is the same. Every unit has its special rules. Infinity is the same. Every model has special rules. I think it's that kind of a game, basically. You don't, until you're playing at like sort of super competitive levels, it's not necessarily a case of having to worry about what your opponent does. Just learn your own stuff and learn your own tricks, if you like. You'll soon pick up like the other bits and pieces. Because if you're only playing against like 2 or 3 mates, you're going to come across the same stuff all the time anyway, really. Spiderlord says, I believe that all the stuff can be used as proxies. Vijay says, having gotten the War in the Hold box for Christmas, I'd love to see how to play Kings of War. Yeah, again, that's another game as well that I would love to kind of... I'd love to do that kind of thing for. The problem was, in the past, I'd have travelled to Mantic and used their miniatures to film a how to play video. That's just not possible, like in current climates. So every game that I want to make a kind of how to play video for, I have to have everything here. Like, I need to have it available to me. And that always obviously just takes time, kind of stuff. Jim says, need to walk away from the diorama, another leak. We'll need to see what I can salvage tomorrow. Just get some blue tack, mate, and just plug it up if you can. Griffhound orange dries orange. It does dry orange. It just doesn't look orange, does it? Tony says, I'm absolutely loving the Lost World Exodus stuff. War Cradle are really starting to shine. I'm in the painstaking process of repairing Mr. Ears. I was just reading today, actually, after they emailed me, I was reading some of the press release stuff for Dystopian Wars. And I quite like the background, the way they've created it, about how the Enlightened have obviously got this, is it RJ 1027 or something? This kind of like this powerful energy stuff. And other nations basically around the world are basically worried about their power. So they're starting to kind of combine together because they know they'll be outclassed basically. So they're trying to kind of combine, and that's how all these little factions are starting to come together in Dystopian Wars. It sounds really interesting. John says, my Griffhound orange looks brown in the bottle but came out lovely orange. Yeah, mine's the same, mate. Spylord says, I'd take War Cradle up on that offer, mate. DW, yeah, Dystopian Wars, very popular game. I think it'll get you good traffic. Yeah, potentially, mate, especially if they're talking about sending out a pre-release copy as well. So if I can get some stuff done prior to people getting it in their hands, that always helps as well. John says, where have all these subscribers come from? There must have been 10 new names in a row. Oh, do you know what? Do you know? Sorry, I've not been watching as well. Eddie's joined the Patreon as well. Thank you very much, Eddie. I apologise if he's already gone, hasn't he? I will have to send him a thank you message. My subscribers are absolutely flying at the minute, mate. Let me just see where I am. It's predominantly all coming from my airbrush videos. So, bearing in mind last Wednesday, so what's that? 5 days ago, we hit 10,000. I'm at 10,365 now. I've had 365 subscribers in 5 days. I had 100 subscribers yesterday in 1 day. That airbrush video, if I can click on it now and I'll tell you how many it's done, has now done 55,000 views since it went live in November, and it seemed to die. It was just basically hovering around. It wasn't really doing anything, and then around the 28th, 29th of December, it just took off like a rocket, and it's doing about 7,000 or 8,000 views a day at the minute. It's unbelievable, and it's really kind of growing the channel at the minute. I'm getting a lot of new subscribers. People are coming in and the good thing is, a lot of them people who are coming in are going and watching some of the old stuff as well. So, like, as an example, I used to do roughly about 28,000 views a month. Like when before my channel started to grow a little bit. The last few months, putting a bit of extra work in and doing extra content and stuff, it's now I now do roughly about 60,000 views a month. At the minute, I'm doing 24,000 views over the last 2 days. It's just gone nuts lately. It'll die off eventually. It'll quieten down. It'll like, that video will have had its day and it'll drop off a little bit like the Warcry one did a few years ago. It'll kind of spike and it'll get loads of traffic and then it'll kind of die away a little bit. But at the minute, it's going absolute gangbusters. Tim Kelly talking with Dice Chatter. Oh, the 15 mil Warcry back reps. Yeah. Rocky Mountain says, good to hear War Cradle's done good with Dystopian Wars. I'll do some more research on the new release. Hope that my mecha squids are still usable. James says, no, they're leaks from a little tiny crack between some of the layers of cork deep in this thing somewhere. I would just try and plug it best you can, mate, and just see if it'll... because once it starts to go off, it'll plug itself up. Adam says you need to do a new airbrush vid every month then. To be honest, mate, I was always going to do the handheld one. If you remember seeing the 30 quid airbrush video that I did a while ago, I actually kind of previewed it saying, if you want to subscribe and see this one as well. So I was always planning to do that one. But yeah, I've just done the portable one recently as well. I'm kind of trying something in the background that I'm trying to replicate what I did with the first one with the second one, right the way down to kind of the way the video was named and the type of thumbnail and all that kind of stuff. Because essentially the only thing that makes people watch a video is the title interesting, and does the thumbnail, is it interesting enough that I want to click on the video. So I've tried to kind of replicate that, because if I can replicate it with the second video, I think I kind of understand how to kind of trigger a video that gets a lot of views. If the second one doesn't do the same as the first one did, it's just pure like lightning struck at the right time, and that's it really. So I'm learning more about the process stuff in the background. Mike says, it may have been the few learning games of Malifaux that did me bad. It was basically just a slaughterfest, telling me once I play more, I'll know I can do this. This is exactly the point I'm trying to make, mate, is about... If it's a demo game, and you tend to find this in like conventions and stuff, is that the company who owns the game does a demo. They pull back some of the rules, so you're not getting every kind of fine little thing, and to try and not to confuse you. And they generally let you win. They set it up so that basically you're able to win, and you get a good feeling about it. Well, I really enjoyed that kind of thing. Then if you enjoy the game, you then get into the complexities of the synergies between these models, and this model works really well with that, and all that kind of stuff. I want to kind of replicate the kind of the demo experience in video format to give you enough information to think, I like the mechanics, I like how it works, I like the look of the models, all that kind of stuff, but not to basically overwhelm like a new player type thing, because all of that stuff is you will just learn it as you go. Like, I learned to play Malifaux from just reading the rule book, and I'm not great at that kind of stuff. I don't think it's that complex a game. It can just get very tactical, that's all. Tasty Brain Drain says, excellent. Spiderlord says they've really invested in plastic tech too, so you can look forward to plastic fleets. I saw that the plastic fleets were in the starter set. I wasn't sure if that was just the starter set and then other stuff would be resin, but from what you're saying, it sounds like they've invested in it. Tasty Brain Drain says, maybe Andy can get 20,000 subs before the end of the year. Yeah, potentially. Potentially, who knows? I think it's all about right video at the right time. ASDF is a Christmas miracle. Tony says people got airbrushes for Christmas. I did think that, mate, to be fair. VG says I can see that airbrush video blown up. A lot of hobby people see that product in their Facebook feed. I know I did. And they want to know if it's actually decent without throwing the cash down. Paul says the airbrush video will get a spike every December when everyone who just got an airbrush for Christmas hits YouTube for instructions. Quite possibly, mate. Yeah, I did think that, but it's I think what's happening is it's got good click-through rate, it's got good viewer retention, and YouTube are sharing it out to more and more people at the minute. And because it's got a wider appeal, I'm getting people kind of commenting who paint model trains, people who paint slot car racing, like Ski Electrics. I've got people who who paint clothes, airbrushing for t-shirts and stuff like that. It's kind of branching out into other kind of artistic avenues and stuff. And some of them are subscribing, and some of them are kind of hanging around watching other content. Some of them are just kind of saying oh, thanks for the review kind of thing. So yeah, it's good. Adam saying triggering people is something I'm good at. Oh, hang on. Peter says, I really like the thumbnails for those two airbrush videos. You see the product you're talking about immediately, so you click it. Yeah, I tried something a little bit different with those. In the first airbrush video, I actually changed the thumbnail after a couple of weeks. So it's all these things you need to play with. It's a science, basically. It's why people get paid vast sums of money to market products for companies and stuff, because there's a science to it. So I'm in the middle of trying to be a better videographer, trying to improve my digital skills in editing and having the right equipment and learning how to make sound and learning how to light things properly and all those other things. I'm also trying to learn how to be a marketing expert, how to be a whiz in Photoshop. I find it really, really exciting. I love doing all that kind of stuff, but it's hard to kind of up your game on everything on an even platform. You can get some really, really good thumbnails, and then your video quality doesn't kind of reflect it and stuff. So it's kind of balancing it around. Rocky says, I found this channel on the YouTube homepage. Never heard of it before, but saw it was live and popped in out of curiosity. Maybe YouTube's algorithm is doing you good. I wonder if I'm just having kind of one of those moments at the minute, where it's just, it'll see its course, it'll kind of drop back down, and then I'll go back to where I was on an upward climb anyway, but this month it just seems to have gone it's took off a little bit. I think I've done something about 800 subscribers in the last month, which is that's just nuts for me. I normally do about somewhere between 200 and 400 at best. Adam says if he does a new airbrush vid every month, he'll be at least 30,000 by the year's end. And Adam says, good choice, Rocky. You'll love it here. Yes, thank you very much. Anyway, I went on a little bit longer than I planned to. Thank you very much, folks, to every single one of you for joining me tonight. Thank you to everybody that donated. Thank you to Eddie, I think it was. I can't see on the screen there. Thank you to Eddie, who joined the Patreon today as well, if you watch this back. And don't forget, tomorrow we'll have the competition, the giveaway video to look forward to. So stay safe, everybody. Look after yourself, look after your families, and I will see you all tomorrow's video and on Wednesday's Hobby Hangout. Take care, folks. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month, and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.